Chapter 01 Unexpected Hitchhikers. Eat this. To say Izuku Midoriya was surprised would be an understatement as he looked at the hair in All Might's hand. He had just finished the aim to pass, American Dream plan, to get his body ready to receive All Might's quirk. The only thing his fatigued mind could offer up was, huh. All Might awkwardly scratched the back of his head. It really doesn't matter what it is as long as you take in my DNA. He stated as Izuku mentally screamed, this isn't what I expected at all. Then again, quirks are physical abilities. Still, Izuku lamented the loss of his fantasy where he imagined a kingly All Might bestowing one for all to a kneeling Izuku in a knightly attire. Now, there's no time. You'll be late for the exam. Come, come, come. Izuku's scream echoed through the now pristine beach. Izuku gasped for breath as he made it through UA's gate 2 hours later. 2 made it. After getting his breath back, he joined the other kids heading for the school buildings. Considering I rushed all the way here, I didn't really get a chance to test out All Might's power. Izuku resisted the urge to throw up a bit as he remembered what was necessary to gain the power in the first place. 2 swallowed the hair, but did I really receive All Might's quirk from that? Out of my way, Deku. A familiar growl interrupted his thoughts. Izuku turned around to see his bully, Katsuki Bakugo. He was fair-skinned with spiky, pale blonde hair and red eyes. His current mood was dark and moody. Don't stand in front of me. I'll kill you. Morning. Let's both do our best. Izuku flinched in habit as Katsuki simply shouldered his way past him in silence. Around them, various students started to remember them from the sludge villain incident. What a dick. Izuku flinched again at the sudden voice he thought he heard, which sounded really close. You can't curse like that in a kid's head. I'm just calling it like I see it. After gathering his wits, Midoriya shook his head, suddenly purposeful. I'm different from before. Remember these past 10 months. His legs shook. Take the first step to being a hero. He stepped forward, resolute, and then promptly tripped over his own feet, heading face first towards the pavement with a silly grin plastered on his face. This is it. This is how I die. Is there a record for shortest one for all wielder? If he actually dies from this, there will be one. Guys, seriously. Izuku's fall was promptly halted without warning. Tilted forward with his feet off the pavement as a girl with short, brown hair, brown eyes and pink cheeks casually held his backpack. Are you all right? She asked innocently. Izuku yelped, trying to pedal his feet back onto the ground until she calmly placed him down. He stared at her, shocked. Placing her hands together apologetically, she gave a small smile. It's my quirk. Sorry for using it without asking first. But it'll be bad luck if you fell, right? She looked up at the sky, smiling. I'm just really nervous today. It's the same for you, isn't it? Oh, She gave a comforting smile to the blushing Midoriya. Let's do our best. See ya. And just like that, she gave a small wave and walked off. I just talked to a girl. Izuku's face had a heavy blush and dopey smile. Did he actually say anything? Nope. Little Ninth here didn't give a name or get a name. First crush, huh? Well, we aren't a teenager for once. Damn it. I don't want to go through puberty again. Izuku's head was really aching for some reason. After finishing the objective and theoretical exams, meeting in the hall with Katsuki and other examinees, including the voice hero, Present Mike, all the examinees had gathered in front of their assigned battle center. A battle center consisting of multiple mini-cities, connected to the main school grounds and surrounded by high walls and green grass. What is this? It's like a city. They have more than one of these on the school grounds. UA's amazing. Izuku himself was no different, gawking at the sheer magnitude of it. Imagine how much money they must have to build places like this. It sure wasn't like this when I schooled here. For a while now, Izuku could have sworn that he was hearing invisible people speak directly to him. The voices were strange as they sounded simultaneously close, enough so that he imagined the voice's owner right at his shoulder and far away, as if someone was yelling at him from a great distance. Izuku, currently feeling intimidated by everyone else's confidence, looked around for a distraction, saw the brown-haired girl from earlier. Ah, a nice and familiar face. I have to thank her for earlier. Suddenly, a hand gripped Izuku's shoulder as he headed in the girl's direction. It was the stern-faced, glasses boy from the earlier lecture with present Mike, causing Izuku to freeze in shock. He's here too? Oh my god, it's the asshole. I'm really not sensing any malice from him, like that Bakugo kid. But still, there's a line between being strict and being a jerk. The boy tilted his head. That girl appears to be trying to focus. What are you doing here? Are you taking the entrance exam to interfere with everyone else? And no, of course not. Izuku waved his hands as the other students around them began to mutter, noticing the commotion. That guy's the one who was about to trip in front of the school gates, right? The one who winced after being called out. At the very least, we have one less rival to worry about, huh? Lucky for us. I feel like the others think they lucked out because I'm here. Izuku thought. Don't get depressed so easily, little ninth. Okay, start. Present Mick's voice cut through his thoughts. Everyone froze, turning incredulously to face the viewing tower. What's wrong? There are no countdowns in real fights. Present Mike rotated his arm, trying to urge the students into action. Run, run. The die has been cast, you know? Huh. Izuku gawked, mouth agape, not noticing the area around him rapidly being emptied of students. Then he looked around. Huh. The students raced towards the gates, leaving him in a wake of dust. Huh. I'm behind already. Izuku screamed as he ran after them. Sneaky shits. I know it's realistic, but is it supposed to be like that? Yes, if it was a destroy-only mission. And even those are rare. The building next to Izuku exploded, smoke billowing as a green robot burst through its walls with a mechanic whir. Izuku reared back in shock. At one point. His yell, however, attracted the robot's attention. Target acquired. Its wheels spun as it charged towards him. I'll kill you. Roll under the arm. Jump. Duck. Its eye gleamed, lunging for him. Izuku clenched his eyes shut, helpless. Don't close your eyes at that. Move, goddammit. Then, a beam of blue light shattered the robot, pieces flying. Thanks for distracting it. Izuku froze, staring at a blond boy with really expressive eyes, who stood languidly to his left, arms behind his head as a glowing laser on his stomach hummed. A laser? Merci. We made a good team. But, he stage whispered, I don't think we'll meet again. Stars flew as he winked. Was that part of his quirk? And then turned tail, running off. Adieu. Izuku wilted. We won't meet again? Present Mick's voice rang out again. 6 minutes and 2 seconds left. Izuku yelped and went back to sprinting down the charcoal street. Oh no. Oh no. Smoking remains of robots lay here and there, evidence of the path of destruction the other kids had left behind. Points. I need points fast. He came to a stop as he reached the center of the training city, the other students already finishing up most of the fighting. Izuku looked back and forth desperately, noticing the brown-haired girl sprint between the ruins. The nice person. The girl darted forward and touched the sides of 4 robots, causing them to float. Release. She yelped, sweat dotting her face. They came down with a crash as she doubled over, huffing. That's 28 points. Midoriya gawked. What? 28? With a whoosh, Izuku turned just in time to see the glasses boy as he used the engines on the back of his leg to kick through a robot. 45 points. 45. Izuku gasped as the other students yelled their high numbers as they fought. The number of enemies is decreasing fast. Oh no. Dude, you got noticed by All Might because you didn't hesitate. Don't think, just do. This is painful to watch. A rumble spread throughout the battlefield, and suddenly a huge dust cloud exploded from between the buildings. The students hesitated, looking around in surprise at the interruption. A shadow covered Izuku as he looked up with a gasp. A huge robot, the size of a skyscraper, was leaning over the buildings, peering between the streets. Holy shit. Fly, you fool. Izuku flashbacked to present Mick's explanation of the points system, revealing the new robot to be worth 0 points, created purely as an obstacle. Isn't it a little too big? The robot punched the street in front of it, sending a shockwave that blew back the screaming students. Students ran past Izuku, who had fallen onto his backside in shock. The tall boy with glasses noticed Izuku frozen to the spot as he ran past, but ignored him. "This isn't funny. I have to run away. I'll get points as I run." Izuku tried to crawl away as the immense fright in him seemed to have taken away feeling in his legs. "Shoot, shoot, shoot. I'm still at 0 points. Do you know that you're crawling right now, little ninth? I could take that easily." "That doesn't matter. What matters is little ninth can't take this. He has to run." "Only 2 minutes left," Present Mike yelled. "It'll be wasted. Everything All Might gave to me will be wasted." "Ow!" A new voice yelled as a crunch sounded out. Izuku hesitated, slowly turning to peer behind him. The brown-haired girl was collapsed beneath some rubble, wincing as she tried to pull herself free. He could feel time slow down as Izuku watched her. Well, better her legs than her head at least. "Dude, not funny. Damn, you don't think anyone's been killed during these exams?" Izuku looked pained, recalling her kind words from before. With a yelp, he got to his feet and ran back to her as the robot advanced with a groan. Izuku's skin began to glow, tendrils of energy tracing its way across his body as he sprinted. Whoa, whoa, whoa. It's happening. Is it normal for it work this fast? The stress must have helped him digest quicker. Shuddering, Izuku briefly disappeared as he jumped upwards at astonishing speeds. His legs. Is he mad? Growling, Izuku clenched his fist as energy manifested out on his arm with a hiss, tearing the sleeve. He darted between the robot's fingers to eye level, recalling All Might's words of advice. "Squeeze your buttocks." Is he aiming to wreck his arm too? Seventh, I can't believe your student actually passed those words on as instructions. I'm a woman. How do you think I feel hearing that? And yell this inside your heart. Gritting his teeth, Izuku hurtled towards the robot's face, screaming. Smash. Nope. Izuku felt a jolt as all the gathered energy in his arm dissipated and instead, a translucent, white aura burst around him. Ah! Izuku's body moved against his will, front flipping in place and shooting out a vicious dropkick. With a loud crash, the zero-pointer reeled backwards, its metal face caved inward with a flash of flame from the immense friction and power right at the point of contact, and the whole machine fell back, the head crumpling and breaking apart as explosions started to wreak havoc on its massive frame. Izuku hovered in the air momentarily, a confused expression on his face. Just now, it felt like someone else just took over my body. Was All Might's quirk supposed to do that? First, what did you just do? Chapter 02, a meeting of the predecessors and the successor. All right, I have good news and bad news. Which do you all want? Start with the good news first. I need something to calm my nerves. Okay, the good news is that somehow, while Little Ninth was channeling One for All, I hijacked his body, activated my quirk through him, aura, not stockpile, and healed up Little Ninth's legs while destroying the zero-pointer. Phew. Okay. And the bad news? It seems I was only able to do so while Little Ninth channeled One for All. Now that he's not. With a rumble, the robot crashed to the ground as Present Mike cheerfully screamed 1 minute left. That startled Izuku out of his daze, and he glanced down to realize he was hurtling toward the ground, wind whistling shrilly. He's going to start falling without support from us. What do we do? Can't Seventh possesses him this time? Yeah, if our quirks are somehow working through him, I can save him. I'm trying right now, but it really seems Little Ninth has to consciously use One for All to make that work. Izuku screeched wordlessly as he fell. Wait, this is All Might's power. I'm able to jump this high now. That would be great if you didn't sacrifice your legs for that. If he survives this, establishing communications with him is a must. Izuku could feel his chances of survival dropping as he passed building level. Think. What to do? What to do? Detroit Smash. He recalled the move All Might had used to stir up the wind against the slime villain. If I aim that move at the ground. A recoil boost? That would be great if he could time it well. Indeed, too early or too late, he'll die? Even if I succeed, I still won't have any points. Izuku clenched his fist, ready to swing. I definitely felt my legs break back when I jumped, yet they miraculously healed by the time I kicked the 0-pointer. If I break my left arm and the healing doesn't happen, there's no way I'll pass since I'll be down by an arm. You will also be dead. Please, get your priorities sorted, little knife. I'm pretty sure he does. Back when I was a kid, exams and tests were life or death scenarios for me. Seriously? Even with the life you lived? Especially with the life I lived. Exams are torture, damn it. Especially since I can't punch them into oblivion like all other problems in my life. Yeah, school was a pain during those periods. The ground raced towards Izuku. He screamed, frozen in fear again. Then, suddenly, a loud slap reverberated as the brown-haired girl hit his face, just at the right moment as he passed her, floating on a piece of robot. The effect was instant as Izuku's fall was immediately stopped, causing him to hover inches above the ground with a squeak. Groaning, the girl placed her fingers together. Release. They both flopped to the floor. Blanching, she covered her mouth, before giving up and rolling over to puke on the ground. To Izuku's adrenaline-pumped brain, she looked as if she was throwing up sparking rainbows. That's the second time this girl saved him. Little Ninth needs her name and number, stat. 7th, please stop your shipping. Groaning, Izuku shook as he lay on the ground, exhausted. I'm safe. No, she saved me. Is she all right? She looks uninjured, at least. He sagged, relieved. I'm so glad. And Izuku pounded a fist onto the floor in renewed hope. So thankful. He began to crawl himself forwards with his thankfully spared arms. If I can just get 1 point. One-track mind, I see. I told you. Exams are life and death scenarios for all students, regardless of actual life and death scenarios. Time's up. Present Mike appeared with a flourish, unbothered by several near-dead students. Snot and tears ran down Izuku's stricken face. He gave a final, despaired squeak, before collapsing face first into the ground. I sympathize with you, little Ninth. That feeling, when you realize you have another page of the exam left. Dude, that's depressing as fuck. Several students gathered round Izuku's unconscious body, talking in odd tones. All right, what did we learn today? Little Ninth can somehow use our quirks if we possess him. The possession only works if he's consciously using one for all. He might not be quirkless, but maybe possesses a hidden quirk like yours, first. Thanks to his horrible social life, he has near zero regard for his own life and might continue to be reckless since that got All Might's attention on him. I suggest that he gets with that girl from before to counter that last one. 5th, you and 7th really seem into getting Little Ninth hitched. A new voice, shrill, cut through the crowd. Okay, good work. A short, elderly woman pushed through, tapping her cane. Good work, good work. Here you go. Here are some gummies. Eat some gummies. She handed colorful gummy bears to random students. Thanks. Yes, you too. Thanks. The woman stopped above Izuku's prone form, but the cheerful expression didn't leave her face. Oh dear, you don't seem hurt much, but I can practically see the stress rolling off you, especially with that quirk of yours. When Izuku got home, he ignored his mom's worried calls and later, his dad's phone calls as well. He just went to sleep and promptly met his new neighbors, in a matter of speaking. Izuku woke up in a dark place. The ground was rocky, but the everything else was just a dark, hazy mass. And don't even get him started on the people here. There were 7 in total, 5 men and 2 women from what he could see of their body shapes. And while everything else was black, the people were glowing with power and vibrancy, each with a signature color. The first was a young, white-haired man, glowing a soft white. The second was a female from what Izuku could tell, glowing a vibrant, electric blue, with actual small sparks coming off her. The third was an All Might-sized male, glowing a deep crimson. The fourth was male as well, glowing a strong, leaf green. The fifth was another All Might-sized male, glowing a deep orange, with strange black tendrils whipping about around him. The sixth was an average-sized male, glowing indigo. The seventh was a beautiful, black-haired woman with a muscular yet attractive figure, glowing a neon pink. She seemed familiar for some reason. There wasn't exactly an eighth, but there was a man-sized ball of flames, burning with bright golden flames that reminded Izuku of All Might's hair. Also, far off in the distance was another figure. While the other hazy figures had vibrant colors to ease Izuku, this one was pitch black, perfectly blending against the background. If the figure hadn't moved a bit to observe Izuku, he wouldn't have noticed it in the slightest. The really important fact that Izuku had noticed, however, was that out of these people, only the first and the seventh figures were completely visible, not like the hazy vestiges of their comrades. "Ah, he's here." The first spoke, his voice sounding soft yet undeniably strong. "Hello, little ninth," the seventh said, bending a bit in apology. "You're earlier than we anticipated." "Who are you all?" Izuku said. Or he would have said if he didn't just discover he wasn't capable of talking here, and was completely lacking a body himself, having the same hazy body of the others, dissonantly noting that his body glowed like the others, a pale green. "Ah, you can't speak yet. That's fine. However, the fact that you can enter here so soon is rather worrying," the first said, while slowly walking around and observing Izuku. "I'll give you a parting message from us, though." The first walked up and stood next to the seventh. "I am Takashi Shigaraki, the first wielder of One for All. My vigilante name is Wild Tiger." "I am Nana Shimura," the seventh spoke, waving at Izuku energetically, even as the hazy world started to fade away. "I'm the seventh, One for All, wielder and Toshi's master. My hero name's Jita Charger, so look me up." Izuku woke up in a cold sweat. The alarm next to him showed the time as 7:48 a.m. The air conditioner was on and his jersey shirt was off, meaning his mother must have entered his room at some point. He quickly got up and searched online for Jita Charger and Wild Tiger. From Jita Charger, he quickly found info on her, as she was a generation above All Might's era. It seemed that she often partnered with some hero called Gran Torino. However, he couldn't find anything on Wild Tiger. There was a vigilante going by that name, but he was a current guy who'd sprung up 20 years ago, definitely not a 200-year-old person, at least. After mentally filing the vigilante as Wild Tiger 2, Izuku went down for breakfast. As he descended, Izuku's mind went back to his abysmal exam, which caused his mood to plummet with each step he took down. By the time he reached the food table, all his pep had disappeared. After sitting, he blindly reached for the milk, ignoring the table's other occupant bemused expression. As he acted in such a sluggish manner, he accidentally hit the milk off the table. Izuku snapped out of it and was about to scream in shock, if not the milk being quickly saved. "Little groggy there, broccoli kid?" For the first time in the morning, Izuku looked properly at the person he was sharing the table with. Dad. Chapter 03. An ordinary day for the Green Valley family. "Do you think I could be a hero too?" In the darkened room of the Midoriya home, a 5-year-old Izuku's tear-filled words pierced through Inko's heart like a bullet. What could she say to him? Her son's dream to become a hero like his idol, All Might, had been rendered impossible simply to the utter lack of a quirk. Something that no money, no miracle, nothing in existence could fix away. "I'm sorry, Izuku." Inko Midoriya's own tears sprung up as she walked up to her son, before falling to her knees and hugging him tight as they cried together. "I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry." 2 hours later, Inko had just put Izuku to bed when she heard their home door opening. She rushed to the living room to find her husband, Hisashi. He was soaked up from the rain still pouring outside and looked at her with a frantic expression. How bad did he take it? Hisashi took his wife's distraught face as his answer. "Damn it." He walked up to Inko and gently kissed her before heading to Izuku's room. "To just put him to bed, Hisashi. He's..." "Inko, you and I both know that he's not sleeping. Not after a day like this." Hisashi reached the door and finally dropped his luggage at his side and faced his wife. "Besides, you've already tried your best, and I know you must have been blaming yourself all day. If only I could have given him a quirk, I could have." Inko bit off her words, looking aside in a frustrated glance. Her main problem wasn't that her son wouldn't be able to become a hero after all. It was something else entirely. "Let's go in, Inko." Hisashi put out his hand for her to take. Our little broccoli kid is crying. Let's bring back his smile, together. Inko sniffed and wiped away her tears as she took Hisashi's hand. Then together, they stepped through the door. Little groggy there, broccoli kid? Hisashi bit back a laugh as Izuku turned to face him, the sleepiness disappearing from his eyes. Dad, Izuku said in shock, then joy as he rushed around the table to hug him. Dad. Hisashi chuckled while seeing his wife come out of the kitchen with a happy smile on her face. It looks like Izuku's up, Hisashi. Yup, I can tell. Hisashi pulled back, causing Izuku to retreat and scratch his cheek in embarrassment. I heard from your mother that you just finished applying for UA High. So how did it go? Hisashi winced as Izuku's cheer was instantly sapped out. I don't know. They making us wait for a whole week before notifying us about the results. I can't even reach Yajisen anymore. Not to mention, I horribly flaked the practical. Oh, all those months of hell were wasted. It's hopeless. I should have known better than to believe that a useless Deku like me could. Hisashi flicked his son's forehead in annoyance. Is Katsuki still calling you that? I'm gonna have to talk to Masaru about that. Hisashi looked around before heaving and getting up to stretch his arms. Let's go out. Izuku and Inko said in unison. If I leave you here, you're gonna do nothing but waver in denial and self-doubt. As your father, it's my job to fix that and make my broccoli kid smile as many times as I can get him to. The next day after Hisashi's declaration was the UA Culture Festival. As with any culture festival, it's a day where the students of UA High work together to put out events and exhibits for both their peers and the general public. The exhibits range from food stands to haunted houses and the traditional maid cafe, and the events were the classic plays and rock concerts led by girls dressed as Playboy bunnies. It truly was fun for the whole family, one family in particular being the Midoriya family. Izuku in particular was hopelessly starstruck by it as he hoped to be amongst them by next year. Meanwhile, his father was telling Inko about a funny moment at his new workplace. So then Goku comes into the lab, and he's just absolutely filthy. His hair's a mess, his clothes are covered in dirt, there's a bunch of those plastic beer rings hanging off the end of his tail, and he's just dripping water everywhere. Naturally, the first thing that comes out of my mouth is, what the hell happened to you? He says not to worry about, that it doesn't matter because he got the lab equipment returned on time. Then you know what Bulma says? Goku, you idiot. I already renewed the reservation on that equipment. And then he just falls on the floor and cries, I don't want to go back in the lake. We love the guy, but he's just so dumb. He sounds fun, either way, Inko said, laughing at her husband's anecdote. Yeah, Goku's a good kid. So dumb, though, Hisashi said. But enough ranting about dumb lab assistants. I'm not using my few days off for that when I could be spending it with my family. Isn't that right, honey? Inko hugged his side. Isn't that right, Izuku? Huh. Yeah, sure, Izuku said, paying minimal attention to the conversation. You could at least try to fake attention, you know. Izuku gave out a quick apology. He knew it probably didn't come off as completely sincere, but he did mean it. He was simply too focused on what was currently in front of him to pay his parents much attention. You can do it. Get it. You're almost there. Do it. Do it. Do it. The support from his predecessors and his fanboy drive combined together to focus his persistence as the grip of his fingers tightened and his eyes narrowed, all in preparation of what was sure to come. Sure enough, what was sure to come surely came, and Izuku's hands and fingers moved more than fast enough to respond to it in kind. Is that prize really worth it? Where's your sense of competition, fourth? Wow, you shot every target. And basically right when they came out of the gate. Nice. Izuku smiled as he set down the pellet gun, and the student running the booth handed him an all-might-shaped wristwatch. Oh, sorry. Didn't realize you were in the middle of your hero merchandise hunting, Hisashi said. Can you blame me? This just came out 2 weeks ago, Izuku said as he donned the watch immediately. If only you had the alarm clock as well. Sorry, kid. That's all sold out. The male student relayed as he set up the pellet gun again for future customers. Izuku might have been interested in the tiny fairy-like belly dancer floating around him, but he currently had different matters to attend to. Izuku, I understand that you are a fan of All Might, but don't you think you have too much All Might merch already? Inko asked. What? No, not in the slightest. Izuku replied in the serious tone of a man who had just been asked if he who just been asked to surrender his soul for a pittance. Mom, I really love you, but don't ever say something like that to me. I don't like the tone you just used, little knife. Nana chastised. Sorry, but she said something so ridiculous to me. Izuku said, you can never have too much All Might merch. Especially after all he did for me. I wish he'd call back though. After that weird dream the previous day, Izuku had discovered he was able to hear them when awake and mentally reply as well, much to their relief. Now, calm down you two. Takashi reined them in. Izuku was about to reply, then saw something far more important. The R-rated heroin whipping figurine. Hisashi and Inko blinked as Izuku literally left a small crater from how hard and fast he kicked off. Izuku nodded his head in rapid succession as he ran over to the booth. Unfortunately, his excitement caused him to run into a teenager his age. His hair really stood out, being blonde with a black lightning bolt symbol on it. That can't be natural, Takashi said. Oh, it is, first. It very much is, Nana replied. Huh, the boy scowled. Sorry, Izuku shouted. Tu wasn't paying attention to where I was going, so I didn't see you coming. Nah, it's cool, the boy replied. Sorry if I was rude earlier. I applied to UA earlier, and the stress of not knowing my results messed me up a bit. Oh, I'm an applicant too. Hopefully, we'll be classmates. Izuku smiled, then stepped around him. Now then? Izuku reached his hand only for a second hand to touch the figurine the same time as him. Excuse me, bro. The boy had lost his earlier cheer and was now giving out one of the fakest smiles Izuku had ever seen in his life. I'm pretty sure I touched that first. I think you're wrong there actually. Normally, Izuku would be nowhere near this confrontational, but for the sake of his fanboy hobbies, Izuku would Florida smash even Bakugo for it. He distinctly remembered a time when during a sale for an All Might hoodie, he had actually copied the aforementioned All Might move and elbowed Katsuki right in the face. It was the only time in which Bakugo actually expressed genuine pride in Izuku despite his quirklessness. Why don't you two fight for it? The resident sales student said while flipping her long black hair, getting their attention. You both said you're UA hopefuls, right? Arm wrestle for it. Right here, right now. Izuku exclaimed in shock. Why are you so surprised? You haven't forgotten about one for all, don't you? Of course, to make it fair, there will be no quirk usage. Never mind then. Well, if you're giving up, I'll just... The lightning-haired boy eagerly reached out again, only for Izuku to stop it cold. I'm all for it. What is this? Inko deadpanned as she took in the sight of her son and some stranger arm wrestling for a doll action figurine. Inko. Hisashi shook his head in disappointment. Don't you know how our son is? For the sake of his desires, Izuku would know. Any man would tear away his weaknesses to fight for it. It may be for the action figure of that sexy pro-heroine, but this is truly a man's romance. What? Inko said flatly as several nearby male spectators cheered at her husband's words. Just look at him. Our timid Izuku's actually winning this. Indeed, Izuku was truly overpowering the lightning-haired boy, slowly but surely pushing his arm down. Izuku was just thankful for the physical training that All Might had given him, which gave him a huge chance of success here. It would seem like an imminent victory, until suddenly his opponent's arm suddenly lessened in power, causing Izuku to lose his stance and lower his grip in surprise, only to instantly lose when his opponent's arm shot up with immense speed, throwing Izuku over to the ground. He lost. Nana and Fifth wailed. What a cop-out, huh? How did he do that? Izuku asked in shock. That guy? He purposely weakened his hold for an instant to create a space between your grips. Takashi explained. And then, he seized that moment to push down swiftly against your hand. I see now. To think there would be a way beyond overwhelming strength to beat an arm wrestling opponent. So I lost to speed, not strength? Izuku acknowledged. I won't let you say I cheated. The lightning-haired boy said as he offered a hand to the defeated Izuku. It's fine. Izuku accepted the hand and stood up while wringing his arm. We didn't say it was a contest of strength. We just arm wrestled. You're a pretty cool guy after all. Names Denki Kaminari. Izuku Midoriya. Later on, Denki would exchange numbers with Izuku and collect his prize while Izuku gushed about having a number beyond just his parents and All Mights. That's kinda sad. Nana said. Leaving the culture festival, they then headed for the mall to buy some new accessories, in which Izuku got some fresh notebooks for his quirk analysis hobby. He kept the fate of number 13 from Hisashi due to the very likely fear that Hisashi would assault Katsuki for that. Being on their way back to the parking lot, the Midoriya family suddenly confronted. All of you, hand over your valuables. A voice called out from behind them. Turning around while Inko hugged Izuku close to her and Hisashi took a subtle step to guard both of them, they saw a scraggly blonde man brandishing a knife at them. A villain. Inko squealed in fright. No, just a thief. Hisashi calmly replied. He looked down to the mugger's legs, gawking at his awkward stance. A bad one at that. Indeed. I've never seen a robber with such an atrocious stance in my life. Nana said. Me neither. Now that they pointed out, his stance is way too unsteady. Izuku observed the mugger, whose stance made him look like he had Nobanies. And he's got such a conflicted look on his face, even though he's the one robbing us. With a horrible stance like that, you could never rob anyone like that. Hisashi criticized, surprising his family with his knowledge. When you stand like that, it's very easy to knock you over. Suddenly, Hisashi grabbed the mugger's arm with one hand and knocked him to the ground with a slam of his other hand on the man's chest. As he did this, Hisashi was able to disarm the mugger of his knife, much to Inko, Izuku's, and the predecessor's surprise. To tell the truth, you don't really look the criminal type. Yeah, but people usually look at my face and think otherwise, calling me thuggish and stuff. The mugger mumbled. Later on, the Midoriya family and the mugger had sat down on a nearby public bench, drinking some tea from Inko's flask, while listening to the mugger's depressing past. When Jin Bubagawara, the mugger, was in middle school, both of his parents had been killed by a villain, leaving him alone as an orphan without any other family members to adopt him. He was able to find employment with an employer who kindly gave him food and shelter. However, Jin would later accidentally hit someone with his motorbike, and the victim survived with only a broken arm. Jin had been brought to the police where he explained that the victim jumped in front of his bike. Understanding Jin was fully abiding the law, the police officers released him, informing Jin that the incident would have created a criminal record, but assured him that it was never too late to start over. Unfortunately, the motorcycle accident victim was a staff member of a longtime customer of Jin's boss, and he vowed that he would never return to their business. This enraged Jin's boss, blaming, firing, and evicting Jin into homelessness. The story was enough to send Inko and Izuku into tears, and not just them either. That's so sad. Nana bawled. 7th, please control yourself. Don't be so cold. 2nd, you gotta admit this is depressing as fuck. I'm not insensitive. 5th, I'm just saying that all of crying at once might affect little Ninth. He started crying before any of us. Nana let out a fresh wave of tears. Well, who wouldn't? Takashi wiped away a few of his own tears. Still, it's a goddamn miracle that my brother hasn't found this guy, especially with that quirk of his. Izuku barely paid attention to the mental conversation as he observed Jin's quirk in action. He wasn't overly focused enough to miss his father's next words. Yeah, why you want to hire me? Jin said in shock. Yes, Hisashi replied in a blunt manner. If I leave you like this, you're very likely to fall into a bad crowd. Plus, in my new workplace, I've been needing a new lab assistant of my own. 2M not really a smart guy. I mean, I dropped out after all, Jin said quietly, as if he couldn't believe what was happening. Izuku privately agreed. A robber who tried to mug a man and his family was suddenly getting a job offer which would help him out from the person he was trying to rob. It's mostly grunt work, but you'll be surrounded by some of the brightest minds around. I'm sure you'll pick up some new tricks of your own. But am not good enough. I mean, I did just try to rob you. Jin's rebuttal was suddenly silenced when Hisashi swiftly grabbed his face, which alarmed his family. Listen up, Jin. It's been 3 damn years since I've physically been with my family. Hisashi squeezed Jin's face harder. 3 fucking years of nothing more than phone calls, text messages, and video chats, and I am not going to let anything or anyone ruin my day out with them. I'm giving one last chance to accept. You're going to take this card and my phone number, call me on the appropriate day, and follow me abroad to your new job, or I will burn you from the inside out." As he spoke, wisps of flame and smoke escaped Hisashi's mouth, giving him a draconic visage. "A.M. I clear. Jean?" Yes, yes, sir," Jean said in fright. After exchanging numbers with Jean and giving some money to feed himself for a while, Hisashi and his family finally arrived home. Finally, a whole week had passed, and on the due day, the stress had caught up to Izuku again, causing him to stare blankly at his fish during dinner. "Izuku, Izuku, Izuku." Izuku flinched and looked up at his mom and dad across the dinner table as he realized she was calling out to him. Inko was sweating in fearful anxiety with her chopsticks hovering above her bowl as she stared at her boy, while Hisashi still ate calmly, throwing worried glances at him. "Why are you smiling at that fish? Should I be worried about you, honey?" "Oh, sorry, no. I just spaced out for a minute," Izuku said, trying not to worry his mom, before scarfing down his food. "Don't worry, little knife. I'm sure you'll get in," Nana said. Indeed, a hero school which would reject someone who genuinely saved a life definitely shouldn't be considered anyway, Takashi reassured. "Besides, you have us, 5 heroes to teach you." Izuku frowned in thought at that statement. "Aren't there 8 of you in One for All?" Izuku asked. "We're not all heroes, little knife. Indeed, the only things we all have in common, except Zeroth, is that we all possess One for All. And the one thing we all share is that we were all killed." "Enough. Don't finish that sentence, third," Takashi ordered. Izuku snapped out of the mental conversation to listen to his father. "You've been out of it lately, constantly getting that vacant look way too frequently. Are you all right, broccoli kid?" "I'm fine, Dad," Izuku reassured. "I'll have to find a way to speak to the others quicker." "Izuku." Inko smiled from the kitchen as she looked in on her family. She tried to cheer him up with a peppy, "No matter what, I just want you to know I'm proud of you, and I think you're really cool, sweetie. I'll go check the mail." Hisashi stood up, ruffling Izuku's hair as he passed, heading outside while Izuku absent-mindedly started some reps with a nearby dumbbell. The door opened, Hisashi sliding into Izuku's view on his knees and scrambling in excitement. "A letter, Izuku." "They came." "Izuku, look. You got a letter. They're here. Your test results, from UA." Taking the envelope, Izuku went to his room, leaving his parents pacing outside. All the lights were off in Izuku's room, all except for his desk lamp as he sat in front of the letter that would tell him he hadn't passed. Do it quick, like ripping off a bandage or a scab. That's disgusting. Fifth, little knife, whether you failed or passed, procrastinating won't change anything, Nana said. "I know," Izuku replied. Izuku grabbed the envelope by the sides and tore it open right down the middle. "That's not what I meant," said Nana in exasperation. A silver disc dropped onto his desk, lighting up as soon as it came to a rest. All Might appeared on a holographic projection in front of him, declaring, "I am here." "As a projection now?" "I know it's been a while, but with great power comes a great amount of paperwork." All Might bowed. "My apologies, Midoriya Shounen. The truth is, I didn't come to this city just to fight villains. You're looking at the newest UA faculty member." Midoriya leaned forward, the look of surprise still not gone from his face. "You're seriously going to be working at UA?" All Might nodded as a hand appeared in the corner, making circles. Yes, what's the matter? Who's showboating?" "Oh, sorry, I'll wrap it up, but I have to show him something first." "Wait, I need to do how many of these things?" "Right, so moving on." All Might cleared his throat. "Even though you passed the written test, you got 0 combat points in the practical exam." "Sorry." Izuku wilted at that, deaf to his predecessor's voices of disbelief or consolations. Fortunately, All Might continued, there were other factors. Izuku looked back up at the projection in surprise. "But before we get to that, I have another surprise." All Might gestured towards the screen that was to his right, pulling out a remote. "Here, look, a short clip for your viewing pleasure." He pressed a button on the remote, and the screen filled up with a doorway within UA, And entering that doorway was none other than the brown-haired girl he met at the exam, in her middle school sailor uniform. Do you have a sec?" The brown-haired girl asked with an anxious expression clouding her face. "Sorry to interrupt." Izuku's face turned into a somewhat confused, but also hopeful expression. "It's that nice girl." All Might had a teasing note in his voice as he announced, "She showed up after the exam to talk about you, Midoriya Shounen." The clip changed to show the brown-haired girl talking to present Mike. "You know that boy with the really messy hair and all the freckles? It's hard to describe his face." She started to struggle as she tried to find the right words to describe him. "He's kind of plain looking. Doesn't really stand out or anything, you know?" "She's means me." Midoriya mentally gasped. "Self-esteem, little knife. Please get some." "I was wondering," the girl continued, "would it be possible to give him some of the points I earned during the exam?" Izuku softly gasped at this. Why would she? "I heard him say something about wanting to get just 1 point in," the girl said earnestly, clenching her fist in front of her heart as she thought back to it, which just seems crazy. How could someone who took down that huge villain all by himself not have any points in the end? He would have had a better score if he hadn't stopped to help me. He saved me. I have to make it up to him. Please, sir, can't you just give him my points?" All Might stopped the video, his back turned as he watched the screen too. "You have a quirk now. Yes, but it's your actions that inspire others. And that's why I am here. You see, the practical exam was not graded on combat alone." He resumed the video. Present Mike approached the brown-haired girl and patted her on the head. "Thanks for showing up to the station with your request," he comforted her. "But there's no reason to give him your points. The kid's charting well on his own. How could a hero course reject someone who is committed to saving others, no matter the consequences to himself?" All Might asked rhetorically. "I knew it." "Shut up, it's not over yet." All Might turned to look at Izuku through the projection. "After all, that is what makes a hero. And that's what my alma mater is all about, training those who would risk their lives for the greater good. So we have rescue points. A panel of judges watches, and they award points for heroic acts beyond just fighting villains," explained All Might before showing Izuku's score. Izuku Midoriya, 60 rescue points. Ochako Uraraka, 28 villain points. 45 rescue points. All Might smiled over his shoulder at the camera. "Rest assured, Midoriya Shounen. You both passed the exam." Izuku could barely suppress the happy tears trying to burst out. This is too crazy. Like hell it is. Tears of happiness are the ones a man must be willing to release, not suppress. Third's right. You did it. All Might stretched his hand out. "Come, Midoriya Shounen. This is your hero academia." This time he released his tears. Why, sir?" Outside his room, Hisashi and Inko leaned away from the door. "You hear that, Inko?" Hisashi slumped down against the wall to the floor in relief. "Those are tears of happiness, not despair or grief." "Oh, thank God." Inko released her own tears of happiness as she dove into her husband's test. "Our Izuku made it. There's snot and tears all over my shirt. He didn't make the slightest move to stop her." "Hey there, Broccoli Kid." Hisashi bravely sat on Izuku's bed while Inko stood off by the side. She wasn't feeling that brave enough yet. "It's Daddy." The lump buried under the thick blanket moved about to open a hole to see through. "Daddy?" Hisashi fought back the urge to flinch and cry, his son's cracked voice showing he truly hadn't stopped crying at all. "I heard about what the doctor told you today. Sorry about that, Broccoli Kid." Izuku wiggled out of his blanket and buried his face into his father's chest, crying a fresh wave of tears. "Why, Daddy? Hick, why couldn't I have a quirk?" Izuku blubbered. "I won't be able to become heroes with Kaken anymore." After letting Izuku cry into his chest for a full minute while caressing his son's hair, Hisashi reached over to his bag and pulled out something. "Izuku," Hisashi sat up while keeping his hand out of sight. "Earlier, you asked your mother if you could become a hero. That was the wrong question to ask. Do you know why she apologized to you? It wasn't because of whether or not you can become a hero, not for something that minor. Izuku, you are quirkless, and whether you like it or not, the world is filled with ass." Hisashi caught himself at Inko's warning glare. Mean people. Mean people who will be needlessly cruel and insensitive just for that. It's not about whether or not you can become a hero, Izuku. It's about if you'll be allowed to live as a human being. Hisashi took a breath and motioned for Inko to join them, and then showed what he had brought out and hidden. It was a notebook, which would later become hero analysis for the future number 01. Izuku, I heard about your intelligence from your mother and teachers from school. Izuku had stopped crying and was now looking at his father with something other than grief in his eyes, much to Inko's relief. You don't have a quirk, but what you do have is this. Hisashi tapped his finger on Izuku's head. You have a strong mind, so there's that. Also, I know you have the mindset as well. I still remember the day you jumped into that river to save that dog who fell in. Inko sniffed. That was so terrifying. If your father hadn't been there to get you out immediately. Hisashi nodded. There are some heroes who only do it for the fame or riches. However, there are also good heroes, like that Ingenium guy who just debuted, or Godzilla, who I met, who actually got a quirk that lets him become Godzilla, but is such a great guy. He even let me analyze his quirk. Hold on, I'm getting off topic. Izuku giggled, sparking some hope into his parents. Izuku, before the advent of quirks, there were people like you. People ostracized for being too different and abnormal. Nowadays, the inverse is true. The now ostracized and shamed are the ones too normal. You say you want to become a hero. The world will look upon your quirkless self, laugh, and then kick and push you down. Izuku. Izuku turned to face his mother on his other side. It's not that I don't want you to become a hero. Rather, I'm worried about all the pain you'll face in the future just for something you were born without. The simple truth is that you are the one who will live your life. Hisashi continued. It's your dream to be a hero, right? Why are you crying and giving up so quickly? Back in the old days, how do you think the first heroes and vigilantes felt, putting on weird costumes to go save lives and fight crime? It may be normal now, but it definitely wasn't 400 years ago. It's your dream, Izuku, your ambition, if you don't stand up for it. If you don't reach for it with all of your might. When am you ever going to do it? Izuku wasn't the only one to gasp softly, as both son and mother stared at the Midoriya patriarch. So here's what I think. You have your parents' support at the very least. However, out there in the world, you'll only have yourself and whatever friend you make. So rather than cry and give up, I wanted you to do your best. Aim to be a hero who saves everyone with a smile. If you fail after doing all that, it'll be easier to accept as you did try your best and failed regardless rather than subjecting yourself to what-ifs if you had given up. If you succeed after doing all that, wouldn't that be just spectacular? All I'm saying is do your best, Izuku. If you do your absolute best and let nothing stop you. Hisashi and Inko simultaneously hugged their son. Between them, you're going to become an awesome hero. The family slept off like that. Hisashi was still dressed in wet clothes, and Inko wouldn't be able to feel her arm the next morning, but it was all worth the smile on their son's dreaming face. The next morning, Izuku woke up to his father gone, but with a message left behind. Izuku, I've left that notebook for you. Your mother told me how you've inherited my hobby of analyzing quirks. I don't know when next I'll get some holiday time, but I expect to come back to see that notebook full and Godzilla's page complete. When Hisashi returned in the next 2 years, Izuku had started number 04. Chapter 04, A Prelude to Heroism. Izuku had arrived at Takoba Municipal Beach Park much earlier than agreed when he finally called him. Before he would meet, he wanted to have another meeting with his predecessors. Sitting down on the sand, he closed his eyes, willing himself back into one for all. Izuku opened his eyes to the familiar rocky ground. He stood up from where he sat, happily noticing that the dark green haze that covered his body was lesser now, leaving his entire head and some of his shoulders free. Little knife. Izuku waved to the others in greeting, noting that he could see more of them now. Before, it had only been Takashi and Nana. Now he could see the Zeroth and the second users as well. The Zeroth seemed to be an attractive woman in a barista uniform, with long, blonde hair with green tips, leaf green eyes, and light skin. She was quite tall with an voluptuous build. The second was an attractive woman with long wavy brown hair and a most striking feature, bags under her brown eyes. She was dressed in a white long-sleeved shirt and a brown pencil skirt and also wore a long white coat, like Izuku's dad did sometimes. Good evening, Izuku, the Zeroth greeted. My name is Daisy August. I am the original wielder of Stockpile, the strength Korkyu and 8th use. Since I never actually wielded one for all, you may address me as Zeroth if you wish. Good evening, Little Ninth. Second said, yawning as she introduced herself. My name is Harumi Kiyama. The quirk you might inherit from me is called Super Electromagnetic Cannon, or Railgun for short. Judging by that description, Izuku somehow brought out his notebook from somewhere, despite his hands being empty before. Does that mean your quirk is an electric type of the emitter class? How much electricity can you release and control? What's your hero name? Can you? Easy now, Nana said, patting Izuku's back to slow him down. Sorry. Izuku blushed in embarrassment. Don't be sorry, Little Ninth. Nana immediately assured him. I just want you to slow down a bit so that we could all hear you. In answer to your questions, Harumi replied. Yes. For control, 2 million volts. For release, however, 1 billion volts. Also, I am not a hero. Izuku nearly dropped his pencil in shock. Oh, 1 billion volts. Well, that was after I got one for all from first here. Harumi gestured to Takashi. It was quite weaker before. Oh right, the first and second wielders. Izuku said. What's the relationship between you two? Surprisingly, Takashi blushed at this, while Harumi simply hugged his arm. He's my boyfriend. Eee! Izuku yelled in shock. Oh yeah. Izuku startled as Daigoro Banjo, the fifth wielder, suddenly placed his hand on his shoulder. The haze might have been still covering him, but Izuku could almost see the shite-eating grin on his face. You know how 8th earlier told you how one for all could only be transferred via DNA? Daigoro teased. Want to guess how their transfer happened? Izuku's teenage mind went wild at that insinuation. It didn't help that he happened to look at Daisy at this point. With a teasing smirk, she made a circle with her thumb and index finger in one hand, and used the index finger of her other to repeatedly enter and exit the circle. If you ever, Takashi spoke, getting Izuku's attention to his face, which was as scarlet as Izuku's right now. If you ever do it with your girlfriend, and she says, come and give me everything, don't take that literally, okay? Izuku was on his last legs, needing just a tiny straw to break him. It was amazing. Harumi blushed at the memory. I don't think we had sex as good as that before, even though I blasted everything around me. Thank goodness we did it outdoors in a cave. It was too much. There was a round of laughter as Izuku faded back into the real world. When Izuku opened his eyes, he saw that the afternoon had faded into night. He brought out his notebook and made a final entry into it about the quirks he had accidentally gotten from One for All. Number 00. Stockpile. This quirk allowed the user to stockpile an enormous amount of raw power, allowing them to significantly enhance all of their physical abilities to a superhuman level. Due to the fact that it wasn't as strong as it was present, Daisy often used it to gain peak human levels of strength, speed, agility, perception, and durability. The user can focus the stockpiled power into a single body part, or spread the power evenly throughout their body. Although, focusing the power puts a greater strain on the part of the body where the power is focused, as Daisy and Takashi warned, which explained what happened to his legs and why Takashi possessed him a week ago. After being accepted into One for All, it gained ability to constantly increase per every use, rather than hitting a limit. By Izuku's time, it has gone from peak human ability to superhuman ability. Number 01. Aura. Transfer before quirk awakening. This quirk allowed the user to transfer itself to others. Due to its nature, it was quite easily ignored for most of Takashi's life until an incident caused him to meet Daisy in the mindscape. Due to the fact that he accepted Daisy's presence in his life, the two quirks merged together to evolve into a new, singular one, while retaining the functions of two. Aura allowed Takashi to project what he called his soul power, granting him the mindscape, where all the predecessors existed, enhance and mix with the other quirks within One for All, share his powers with other still alive wielders, and most importantly, prevent its theft by Satoshi. While it explained how All Might still had his power, despite passing on One for All, nobody wanted to tell Izuku exactly who Satoshi was. Number 02. Railgun. This quirk allowed the user to degenerate and manipulate electricity. However, after gaining One for All, it evolved immensely, increasing the voltage limit in each generation and allowing the user to briefly transform into lightning itself. Due to its increasing power, it was now currently strong enough to power Izuku's home city for several days in a row. Number 03. Pump Up. This quirk allowed the user to increase the muscle mass, all or only certain muscles, of oneself, enhancing any physical abilities pertaining to muscle, such as strength, speed, stamina, height, and durability. After being accepted into One for All, it tripled in effectiveness. Izuku suspected that this was the quirk All Might subconsciously uses to transform, despite his belief of it just being a strength quirk. Number 04. Danger Sense. This quirk allowed the user to sense nearing danger, acute danger, potential immediate danger, or impending danger and sense unwanted or hectic threats to their well-being and evade it. After being accepted into One for All, the quirk has evolved into something that allows the user to intuitively read others' body language and expression, allowing them to anticipate their actions and respond accordingly. See into a short-term future if usually only seconds or minutes worth, and possess a radar sense which extracts information on where and how many people there are in their vicinity. This was the third quirk Izuku had used since he received it. Number 05. Black Whip. This quirk granted the user the ability to produce black energy tendrils from any part of their body and command them at will. Daigoro warned Izuku that his quirk increased in power when angry, but lost in control. After being absorbed into One for All, the quirk evolved into being able to create tools, weaponry, and other constructs of darkness from the user's body. Number 07. Flight. Float before awakening. This quirk allowed the user to jump to great heights, levitate, and suspend themselves in midair, and then slow their descent on the way down. After being accepted into One for All, the quirk evolved, allowing the user to fly at high speeds without any outside influence. After updating his notebook, he was alerted to some people approaching him. The first one was an extremely short, elderly man with heavy wrinkles and a scrawny build. He had a light complexion and yellow eyes. His hair was gray and spiky, styled short with some bangs hanging forward and a trimmed beard. The second one was a slim man with deathly pale skin. He had short, messy, grayish-blue hair and red eyes. The third was All Might in his civilian mode. All Might. The trio startled in shock while a nearby couple reacted quite quickly. Tashinori Yagi gasped with blood bursting from his mouth. "Too loud, kid." In a panic, Izuku waved his arms around to try to distract the couple. "Two was just kidding. Nothing to see here." They heard the man mutter, "Lame," while his date lamented in a disappointed sigh, "I wanted an autograph." Izuku and Yagi sighed in relief that the two bought it. The old man's eye twitched as he growled while the man had fallen to the ground, nearly choking from his laughter. "Tenko PFT, that's not haha funny," Nana said unconvincingly. "It totally is." Daigoro guffawed. "Tenko." Izuku stared as he watched the symbol of peace fidget and dodge as the short old man attacked him with his walking stick. "Excuse me," Izuku called out. "I mean, Yajisan, who are these people?" "Well, these two are my associates to begin with." Yagi cleared his throat and introduced them. "This old man here is one of my teacher, Sorihiko Torino. You'll probably recognize him as the pro hero, Gran Torino." Izuku released a high-pitched squeal that might have killed any nearby dog or cat. "You're Jita Charger's partner." Izuku fanboyed, materializing his notebook again. "Your quirk, Jet, allows you to shoot jets of air from the holes on the soles of your feet. These air jets give you incredible speed and kicking power, as well as the ability to fly short distances quickly and with ease." "Huh, that's my Sora," Nana praised. "The way he constantly beat 8th worried me," Hikage said. "7th, he really traumatized your disciple there," Takashi said. Anyway, Yagi spoke over Torino's pride at being recognized. "This young man here is my ward, Tenko Shimura." "Nice to meet you, Midoriya," Shimura greeted. "It's nice to finally meet you. After all Tashinai told me about you." "Sure, Shimura," Izuku exclaimed in shock. "You're related to Nana-san." The three men simultaneously blinked. Torino narrowed his eyes in suspicion. "How do you know that name, Midoriya Shounen?" Yagi asked. "My master wasn't famous enough to have her name public." Not to mention that level of familiarity. Torino raised his own suspicion. So far, Shimura was the only one looking at Izuku with positive interest. Izuku fidgeted before surrendering. I wanted to tell you for so long, but you weren't picking my calls, and I was so worried about it when they themselves were worried about it. Did any of us remember to tell him that Eighth hasn't met us at all? Harumi asked. No, Daisy replied. And the quirk is alive and sentient with our predecessors as ghosts in them, and I'm so sorry. One for all is sentient, Yagi yelled out in shock. The other two didn't fare any better. Do you? Izuku rubbed his arm awkwardly. Do you want to talk to them? Can you do that? Shimura asked. Wait, how can you do that? Tashini, I said that you were quirkless. Maybe, Torino finally spoke. Rather than being quirkless, it's probably a matter of a hidden quirk, similar to the first wielder. His name's Takashi Shigaraki. Izuku pointed out. Nana wants to talk to you three. The men exchanged looks. We would like to speak to her as well. Izuku breathed deeply, activating one for all through his entire body like Nana taught him, until it bursted out in a green aura, radiating out from his body. One for all, 5%. Throughout the week, Izuku had come to the beach to train with One for All, subsequently unlocking more of the hidden quirks. Currently, he could now only use Stockpile, Aura, and Danger Sense by himself, as using any other quirk would need its original owner. Huh, it's green this time, Yagi observed. What do you mean, Tashinori? Torino asked. Back on the exam day, this aura, several predecessors snickered at Takashi, was white then. Yagi clarified. I assumed that was because of the original owner possessing your body at the time, Midoriya Shounen? That's right, Toshi. A female voice came out of Izuku's lips as the green aura turned pink. Hey guys, Izuku, Nana, waved in a janky way only anyone who knew Nana Shimura would recognize. The three men were overwhelmed, but Tenko Shimura, who knew his grandmother only from pictures and stories, snapped out of it first to hug her. This prompted the weirdest hug fest ever to the nearby couple on a date. A deathly skinny man, a short old man, and a lanky youth, all bawling as they swamped a flustered teenage boy. It would soon be found on YouTube. Three men find and cry over lost relative. After composing themselves and Izuku, Nana, hugging Shimura some more, Yagi moved on to the real reason they all met up. Congrats on getting in, Yagi said, giving a high five. I couldn't have done it without your help, Izuku replied, taking back his body and high-fiving All Might. I just high-fived All Might. Oh, speaking of which, I didn't tell anyone at UA that I've been training you or anything. Really, I wasn't one of the judges, and I didn't pull any strings for you. You earned your spot all on your own. You better not, Torino grumbled. Last thing the boy needs is get singled out so early. Wow, thanks for telling me. I'm glad to hear that. Oh yeah? I was really surprised to hear you're going to be a teacher at UA this year. I was wondering what brought you here all of a sudden. After all, your agency is in Minato, Tokyo, and everyone knows. Izuku went off on a tangent again. There he goes again, Yagi commented with a smile. He almost matches you, Tenko. Torino laughed, causing the young man to blush. The school didn't want me telling anyone about the job until they made an official announcement. It seemed like fortuitous timing. An easy way to find someone new to inherit, One for All. Yagi clarified. Izuku looked at his hand, remembering the first time he used Stockpile. All Might, your power completely wrecked my legs, Izuku said, shivering a bit. And if it wasn't for Takashi-senpai, I would have lost my arm too. I can barely control it by severely limiting myself. What do I do? Izuku asked his idol. How can I control One for All's immense power like you can? You can control One for All. It's simple. Izuku and the others waited on bated breath as Yagi stalled, then shouted. You have to feel it. You moron. Once again, the nearby date couple got some new YouTube material from the four nearby. The young man had buried his face into his hands in despair, while the old man and the teenage boy double-teamed the skinny man. The old man kicking out his legs while the boy, currently glowing pink, white, black, and red simultaneously, punched him in the cheek. Old man and teenage boy double-teamed skinny man. Chapter 05. What we can do for now. In the UA conference room after the exams, the teachers were gathered to examine the scores of the examinees, watching a video of Katsuki Bakugo. Check out the results from his exam, Ectoplasm said. He was a tall, slender man in a tan cloak that covered most of his body, the area over his torso, and the high collar resembling that of a double-breasted trench coat. Underneath this was a skin-tight black bodysuit with a golden striped neck area and a matching black helmet that covers his entire head, a jawguard attached over his nose and around his jaw, and circular mufflers. Bakugo, I believe. Wow. The first-place student didn't even have rescue points. Midnight, Namuri Kiyama, replied. She was a tall, curvaceous woman with sky-blue eyes, abundant spiky dark purple hair, which was made up of layers of varying lengths, and her hero costume was very similar to one of a traditional dominatrix. She wore a breastless, black leather leotard over a thin, skin-tight white bodysuit, which accentuated her voluptuous figure. He took down those faux villains like an ace. Snipe said. He was dressed as a stereotypical Western cowboy, with his face covered by a tan gas mask. When most of the other examinees were running from the big obstacle, he stayed focused on letting the smaller targets get in close, and then counterattacking. That kid is tough. The video then switched to Izuku Midoriya. On the opposite end, the 7th-place student had 0 villain points. Midnight commented. He's not the first UA hopeful to take out that giant robot. Though, it's been a while since I saw someone blow it away with one attack. Snipe said, as the screen showed Izuku destroying the 0-pointer. But at what cost? Did you see how badly he injured himself? Ectoplasm replied. There's a brief moment where his legs were clearly broken. Even if they healed up to attack the 0-pointer, it's still disturbing to watch him harm himself, whether accidental or deliberate. Eraserhead, Shota Aizawa, said, leaning on the back wall. That quirk. He clearly didn't know the full extent of it judging by his shocked look. Not to mention, glowing, all-might level super strength, instant healing. A quirk with multiple functions, or maybe. Izuku put on his shoes, getting ready for school. His parents seeing him off. Izuku, you're all set? Inko Midoriya asked him. Yeah, Midoriya responded, doing a final check of his bag. Are you sure? You didn't just pack action figures, right? Hisashi Midoriya asked. Oh, he considered it. Daigoro teased. You should take mine and give it to Toshi, Nana said. And no, I didn't. Izuku replied embarrassed. Now I gotta go. I don't want to be late. Izuku. He groaned as he opened their front door. What? I'm really proud of you, son, Inko said, tears in her eyes. Go ahead, Izuku, Hisashi said with a thumbs up. We know you've waited 11 years for this. Are you crying, third? Hikage asked. Of course I am. It's okay, third. Let it all out. Takashi comforted. Izuku smiled at his parents. I'll see you soon, Mom. Safe journey, Dad, and greet Jin-san for me when he comes. Izuku made his journey to UA High, mentally running through information about it, which his predecessors appreciated or commented on. Class 1A. 1A. Come on, where is it? Ah, there, he said as he ran through the school halls, then found his assigned class. Man, this thing is huge. Are there giants here? Daigoro asked. It was probably built for easy accessibility for students who are probably of extreme height. Izuku explained. The most promising students in the country are waiting behind this door, Izuku muttered before thinking of Katsuki and the glasses student from the exam. Maybe we're in different classes. Maybe everyone here is nice. He hoped for the universe to grant him a small favor. The universe smiled down with lots of cosmic sadism. Don't put your feet on the desk. Huh. Izuku opened the door to see Ida and Bakugo arguing. Not only both of them, but they're already clashing? Izuku thought in despaired incredibility. Behold, the clash between the immovable smartass and the unstoppable asshole, Daigoro said in Morgan Freeman-like tone. PFFFFFD, several predecessors snickered together. Little ninth, never tempt the universe. Takashi invisibly patted Izuku's shoulder. It's always looking for a victim. Junior high did you go to, you side character? Katsuki remarked at the glasses student. The glasses student paused before explaining. I attended semi-private academy. My name is Tinya Ida. Semi? So you're a damn elite, huh? Looks like I'll have fun crushing you. Katsuki teased Ida. Crushing? That's cruel. Do you truly aim to be a hero? Ida gaped. TCH. Katsuki spat before glancing at the door, noticing Midoriya, Ida's eyes following. Your? Ida began as the eyes of the class followed theirs. Midoriya. Izuku turned in time to see Denki Kaminari pouncing him into a one-armed hug. How you been? You treating that figurine good? Ah, yes. Izuku blushed from the close contact. He hadn't been hugged by anyone other than his parents in years. His friend, Izuku felt giddy saying that, had been in touch via texts and video calls. They both had similar problems with their quirks, in which that they both ran risks of hurting themselves from their own powers if overused. Izuku got physical damage with his super strength. Denki got mental damage from his own power short-circuiting his brain. Still, they helped each other well. Izuku, with Harumi's help, taught Denki to stimulate his muscles through the bioelectricity in his cells to draw out immense speed and strength, similar to Izuku's. Denki, on the other hand, taught him about electronics, due to his hobby with it and his electrification quirk's effects on them. Good morning. I am from Semi-Private Academy. My name is Ida. Started walking up to Izuku. I know. Izuku cut him off, making Ida stop. Going on a kinder tone, Izuku introduced himself. I'm Izuku Midoriya. Nice to meet you, Ida. Denki Kaminari. Denki said from his side, releasing Izuku, who whined a bit, and put his hands in his pockets. What's up, dude? What's up? Ida repeated in a confused tone, before turning back to Izuku. Midoriya, you realized there was something more to that practical exam, didn't you? I had no idea. I misjudged you. I hate to admit it, but you are better than me. Ida gritted his teeth. Gasp. The smartass recognized his mistake and apologized. Daigoro exclaimed. Fifth, I believe that he is simply a man who was brought up that way. The fact that he apologized genuinely without prompting is a good thing. Hikage commented. An incredibly manly thing, I dare say. Sorry, I actually didn't realize anything. Izuku admitted. Oh, that curly hair. You're the plain-looking one. Ochako exclaimed behind him. He has green hair. That's not plain at all, Takashi said. Izuku turned around and jumped when he saw her, panicking and blushing, the nice person. She looks good in a uniform. Ho, Daisy said. Ho, Harumi said. Ho, Nana said. Oi, you three are freaking me out, Takashi warned. Ha 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 ha, Daigoro laughed. I give my condolences, Little Ninth. Hikage prayed. I'm going to sleep. Little Ninth's social life is his own business. You passed, just like Present Mike said. Of course you did. Your kick was amazing. Ochako complimented him, imitating his kick. TTT, thank you. Izuku fretted as he tried to cover his face with his arms in nervousness, missing Katsuki's glare at him. I wonder if today's just the entrance ceremony and orientation? I wonder what our teacher's like. Aren't you nervous? Ochako bounced her arms in a way that Izuku considered adorable. SSO close. Midoriya hid his blushing face with his arms. Thanks to Kaminarican, I think I'm noticing girls a bit too much now. No, Little Ninth. You've been noticing them too little. Daigoro teased. If you ever need to know anything about girls, I'm here. Daisy offered. Izuku just blushed further when. There's somebody behind me. Izuku, warned by danger sense, turned around in an instant, zeroing in on the shaggiest man he'd ever seen in his life, laying down in the doorway in a sleeping bag. Oh. The man gazed at Izuku with slight approval, while Ochako flinched at his voice. You actually noticed me. The fuck? Said Daigoro. I normally discourage that crude language, but the fuck? Hikage copied his apprentice. Is that a teacher? Harumi took offense at the man's existence. This is the hero course. The man sighed, unzipping the sleeping bag to drink a juice pouch. Go somewhere else if you want to play at being friends. A teacher? Which means that person's a pro hero too? But I've never seen a hero who looked that worn out before. Izuku thought while the man got out of his sleeping bag. The teacher turned to his class, announcing unenthusiastically, I'm your homeroom teacher, Shoto Aizawa. Nice to meet you. Homeroom teacher? Izuku gasped. I know that appearances are deceiving, but there's gotta be a limit. Takashi said. I'm 95% sure that that phrase was created specifically with no limit in mind. Nana said. Well, let's get to it. Put these on and head outside. Aizawa instructed them, pulling out a gym outfit, all blue except for the letters U and it in white, along with upside-down, white shields outlined in red on the upper arm sleeves. Huh. All of the students and predecessors think is one. A quirk assessment test? The class exclaimed as they got to the field, Aizawa telling them they'd be doing one. What about the entrance ceremony? The orientation? Ochako asked. If you're going to be a hero, you don't have time for such leisurely events. Aizawa replied while his class gasped. When they got stunned into silence, Aizawa explained, UA's selling point is how unrestricted its school traditions are. That's also how the teachers run their class. You kids have been doing these since junior high school, too, right? Aizawa held up his phone, which displayed some standard sports stats before continuing. Physical fitness tests where you weren't allowed to use your quirks. The country still uses averages taken from results from students not using their quirks. It's not rational. Well, the Ministry of Education is just procrastinating. Turning to Katsuki, Aizawa asked, Bakugo, you finished at the top of the practical exam, right? In junior high, what was your best result for the softball throw? The class looked at him as he answered, 67 meters. Then, try doing it with your quirk. Aizawa instructed. Katsuki stepped up to a circle drawn out in the field. You can do whatever you want as long as you stay in the circle, Aizawa instructed him. Then, well, Bakugo stretched his arms, smirking. He threw the ball with his explosion quirk as hard as he could, yelling, Die. Die? Izuku questioned. I hope that's not his catchphrase. Takashi commented. It better be his catchphrase. From the little bits we've gotten about Little Ninth's relationship with him, I keep imagining that ball as Little Ninth's head. Harumi growled. The ball fell to the ground while Aizawa turned to the class again, saying, That is the most rational way to form the foundation of a hero. He showed the class Katsuki's score on his phone, reading 705.2 meters. 705 meters? Seriously? Denki exclaimed. What's this? It looks fun. A girl with pink hair and skin beamed. We can use our quirks as much as we want. As expected from the hero course. A guy with black hair and straight teeth noted. Danger Sense pinged like crazy at this. It looks fun, huh? You have 3 years to become a hero. Will you have an attitude like that the whole time? Aizawa questioned. The class got quiet while Aizawa stated, All right. Whoever comes in last place in all 8 tests will be judged to have no potential and will be punished with expulsion. Huh. Punished with expulsion? Oh no. This is bad. In all 8 tests. Izuku held his hand, panicking. I can only use one for all at 5%. Add that to the stress and my control will. Calm down, Little Ninth. Hikage ordered. Just breathe. Nana recommended. We're free to do what we want about the circumstances of our students. Aizawa reminded them, grinning. Welcome to UA's hero course. A huge obstacle on the first day of school? What am I going to do? Izuku gulped as he tried to stay calm. Ochako stepped up, exclaiming, Last place will be expelled? But it's the first day of school. No, even if it wasn't the first day of school, this is too unfair. Oh, and you think natural disasters are? Or power-hungry villains? Or catastrophic accidents that wipe out whole cities? No, the world is full of unfairness. Aizawa reprimanded, shutting Ochako down. Heroes are the ones who reverse those situations. If you wanted to go talk with your friends at Mickey D's after school, too bad. For the next 3 years, UA will do all it can to give you one hardship after another. Go beyond. Plus ultra. Aizawa motioned with a bring it gesture. Overcome it with all you've got. Test 1 50-meter dash. Tenya Ida and Tsuyu Azui prepared to race each other. Runners, on your marks. Ready, the measuring device said before a gunshot was heard. Ida used the engines in his legs to run while Azui hopped. 3.04 seconds. The measuring device said as Ida passed the finish line. Name, Tenya Ida. Quirk, engine. Function, as you can see, his legs are pretty dang fast. Why did I let Hizashi write out their physicalities for me? Aizawa groused. Well, eat is like a fish in water. It'll be worth seeing what others do. 5.58 seconds. The measuring device said as Azui passed the finish line. Karo. Azui croaked. Name, Suyu Azui. Quirk, frog. Function, it's pretty self-explanatory. She can basically do anything a frog can. Ochako Uraraka and Mashireo Ojiro stepped up next. I'll lighten up my clothes. Oh, and my shoes too, Uraraka said as she tapped her clothes and shoes and activated her quirk. 5.49 seconds. The measuring device said as Ojiro passed the finish line. Name, Mashireo Ojiro. Quirk, tail. Function, this is so self-explanatory I couldn't add anything. 7.15 seconds. The measuring device said as Uraraka passed the finish line. Name, Ochako Uraraka. Quirk, zero gravity. Function, she can nullify the gravitational pull of anything she touches. However, if she goes over her capacity, she'll get really nauseous. I'll have to build up her tolerance. Aizawa noted. Yuga Aoyama and Mina Ashido raced next. Everyone, you're not being creative enough. I'll show you what it's like. Aoyama presumed as he turned around and shot a laser out from his belt, finishing with, to be allowed to use you quirk. Name, Yuga Aoyama. Quirk, naval laser. Function, he can shoot a laser from his belly button. However, he's limited by the amount of time he can shoot continuously. 5.50 seconds for Aoyama. If I shoot for more than a second, I get a stomachache. Aoyama explained to 4 students behind him. Their confusion was obvious. Testing the upper limits of their powers helps me assess their room for growth. It becomes clear what they can and can't do. Their true potential, Aizawa pondered, and especially their creativity in an event which their quirk isn't suited for. Next up were Izuku Midoriya and Katsuki Bakugo. Runners, on your marks. Ready, the measuring device said before a gunshot rang out again. Explosive speed. Bakugo yelled, releasing small, concentrated blasts which propelled him forward. For 0.13 seconds for Bakugo. Name, Katsuki Bakugo. Quirk, explosion. Function, he creates explosions from the sweat on his palms. Better stay away on a hot day. Midoriya concentrated as red lines of energy appeared over his lower half. Stockpile, 5%. In a burst of speed, Midoriya crossed the line at 4.14 seconds. Coincidentally, Bakugo didn't look at him at the time. Name, Izuku Midoriya. Quirk, superpower. Function, he can permanently copy up to 7 quirks at a time, all mights included. Kids hit the lottery. Warning, be notified that the exam day was his first time of usage and was functionally quirkless before then. Aizawa's eyebrows went dangerously high. Does that mean that time, with the 0-pointer, was literally the first time he used his quirk? From where he was spying on Izuku and his classmates, All Might felt danger sense ping. Test 2, grip strength. Izuku carefully squeezed with stockpile active. Easy, just breathe. Izuku Midoriya, 95 kg. Wow, someone exclaimed, getting Izuku's attention. The guy with black hair stared at a large guy with 6 arms as he gushed. 540 kg? What are you, a gorilla? Oh, an octopus. Mizo Shoji, 540 kg. Octopi are sexy. A small boy with purple balls for hair whispered. Test 3, standing long jump. Aoyama did the best here. Test 4, repeated side steps. Midoriya and his classmates gasped as Minoru Mineta easily bounced between 2 clumps of his sticky balls. Name, Minoru Mineta. Quirk, pop off. Function, the balls on his head become super sticky when he removes them. While they are bouncy to him, removing too much will cause him to start bleeding like hell. Good creativity, Aizawa noted. However, that provision of his needs to be curbed. Test 5, softball throw. Uraraka used her quirk on the ball and then threw it into the sky, with no signs of the ball slowing down or falling at all. After a whole 5 minutes, Aizawa displayed her results. Infinity, the class exclaimed as one. Bakugo in particular looked ready to pop. That's amazing. She got infinity. Denki Kaminari gaped. It doesn't look good for Midoriya if he continues like this. Ida muttered. Huh. Of course not. He's a quirkless small fry, you know. Bakugo spat, getting Aizawa, Uraraka, and Ida's attention. Ida looked taken aback. Quirkless, are you not aware of what he did in the entrance exam? Huh. Bakugo glared at Midoriya. It's about time, huh? Aizawa thought. It was when Midoriya threw back his arm to throw his ball that Aizawa's eyes glowed red. 46 meters, the measuring device said. I was definitely trying to use it just now. Midoriya mumbled. I erased your quirk, Aizawa explained as his scarf loosened and wrapped around the student. Midoriya, from what I've gathered about your quirk and circumstances, Aizawa muttered so that the other students couldn't hear them. Your quirk, which you apparently got on the exam day, let you permanently copy up to 7 quirks at a time, right? Midoriya, perhaps too nervous to speak, nodded. And the first one you copied was All Might's, I believe? Midoriya flinched then nodded again. Aizawa glanced at where he knew All Might was hiding, then turned back and sighed. Midoriya, for someone with this much diversity, you're relying too much one skill set. If I can assume All Might recognized his quirk and trained you appropriately, you should at least make an effort with the others you have. After all, you can't become a hero if you're just a one-trick pony. Midoriya looked stunned as his capture tape released him and Aizawa stepped away. I've returned your superpower. You have 2 turns for the ball throw. Hurry up and get it over with. It looks like he received some advice, Ito observed. Probably just telling him he's expelled. Bakugo responded. What should I do? Which should I choose? Midoriya mumbled, standing back in the circle. Will he incorrigibly prepare for an obvious scenario by using just All Might's strength, or become intimidated and settle into last place? No matter which he chooses, he has no potential, Aizawa thought, using his eyedropper on his eyes. Midoriya made to throw his ball then stopped, as he was having an intense mental debate in his mind. Then he stretched out his ball hand. Green-tinted darkness pooled around his hand, surrounding the ball. The darkness-covered ball then became attached to a rod while a bow made of the same darkness appeared on his left arm. All while he did it, Midoriya was sweating tremendously. Black whip, twilight bow. Aligning the bow and arrow, Midoriya fired, shooting the ball fast enough to cause shockwaves. The ball landed on the ground, Aizawa's phone showing Midoriya's score, 705.3 meters. Aizawa-sensei, thank you, Midoriya told his teacher, clenching his bleeding fists. This kid, Aizawa muttered with a frightful grin. He'll need some quirk counseling, but he's gonna go far. Chapter 06, Starting Point. Izuku Midoriya sighed as he gingerly rubbed his bleeding fingers, while the predecessors hooped around in his head. In the brief period after Aizawa had spoken to him, his advice had inspired the reveal of Daigoro Banjo, leaving only the 3rd and the 6th vestiges left in mist. Luckily, Daigoro had given him quick tips in using his quirk properly, but warning him that his anxiety might have an effect on it. Fortunately, while Daigoro had been right, Izuku managed to wrest some control, though not without injury to himself. He got over 700 meters. Denki Kaminari yelled, "Way to go, Midoriya!" That was an amazing record. Ochako Uraraka cheered. But still, that's not what he used back on the 0-pointer. Indeed, Tenya Ito observed. But still, whether it is similar or different, he's injured himself bad enough to bleed. That can't be good. His execution was splendid, but Yuga Aoyama shook his head. The aftermath is not very stylish. What is the meaning of this? The 3 who just spoke turned to watch Katsuki Bakugo's hand create some bangs before he suddenly growled and rushed forward. Hey, tell me what's going on, Deku, you bastard. Katsuki yelled as he ran out to Izuku. Oh hell no, Daigoro threatened. Izuku winced as Black Whip came out against his will, dark tendrils whipping about to form a makeshift and very pointy barrier between him and the attacking bully. To Izuku's surprise, Aizawa's scarf quickly got a hold of Katsuki, who gritted his teeth. What the? These scarves are hard. They're weapons for capture made of carbon fiber woven together with metal wire of a special alloy. Geez, don't keep making me use my quirk over and over. I've got dry eye. Aizawa sighed, his eyes flashing red again to deactivate Katsuki's explosion and Izuku's black whip. It's such a waste, since his quirk is so amazing. Izuku thought, his excitement at his teacher's quirk temporarily blocking out the pain. We really could have used that against Satoshi. Takashi sighed. Once again, who's Satoshi? Is he a past wielder of One for All? Izuku asked. Sorry, little ninth. That's confidential, Daisy said. We're wasting time. Whoever's next, get ready. Aizawa instructed, letting go of Bakugo. Midoriya, come here so I can bandage you. As some of the class gathered around them, Aizawa explained to Izuku that from what he could see, his injury was caused from string pull rather than his quirk. When a beginner archer uses a bow, the quickly retracting string could peel away some skin from the used fingers, leaving them bleeding as a result, which was why they wore specialized gloves. Considering that Black Whip wasn't just some ordinary string, the backlash was naturally worse than the norm. After the test, I will send you off to the nurse, but endure through the rest of the test like that, Aizawa said as he stood up. There are times when if a hero is injured but not badly enough to hamper their movements, they'll have to continue onwards to save civilians in trouble. Plus Ultra, Izuku muttered resolutely. Plus Ultra, Aizawa agreed. All right, all of you finish up and prepare for the next one. Is your finger okay? Ochako fretted, missing Izuku's increasing blush as she came closer. You were awesome. Denki cheered as he slapped Izuku's back, causing him to snap to attention and wince. Wish me luck, cause I'm next. Denki took a ball from Aizawa and stepped up to the circle. After breathing deeply, he started to wind up his arm while electricity danced around his form as he gradually sped up to unbelievable speed. When he released the ball, it created shockwaves as the ball practically blasted away from Denki's hand, the small whirlwind caused by his wind-up dissipating. Interesting application. Aizawa showed Denki's score as 594 meters. Whoa, that awesome, Kaminarican, Izuku praised. Interesting. That boy subconsciously used electromagnetism to repel it away from him as he threw forward, Harumi observed. Test 6, sit-ups. Tenya Ida did best here. Test 7, seated toe touch. Shoto Todoroki did best here. Test 8, long distance run. Momo Yaoyorozu did best here. She created skates for it. At the end of it all, Izuku collapsed to the ground trying to get back his breath. What a marvelous workout, little ninth. Easy for you say when you're not suffering it. Third. You've done great, Izuku. Get up and check your results. Nana encouraged. Okay, I'll quickly tell you the results. Aizawa instructed. The total is simply the marks you got from each test. It's a waste of time to explain verbally, so I'll show you the results all at once. A screen popped up from Aizawa's phone with everyone's scores and placement. First, Momo Yaoyorozu. Second, Shoto Todoroki. Third, Katsuki Bakugo. Fourth, Izuku Midoriya. Fifth, Tenya Ida. Sixth, Denki Kaminari. Seventh, Fumikage Tokoyami. Eighth, Mizo Shoji. Ninth, Mashireo Ojiro. 10th, Eijiro Kirishima. 11th, Mina Ishido. 12th, Ochako Uraraka. 13th, Koji Koda. 14th, Rikido Sato. 15th, Suyu Ajui. 16th, Yuga Aoyama. 17th, Hantasiro. 18th, Kyokujiro. 19th, Toru Hagakure. 20th, Minoru Mineta. I'm not last. Izuku stared in surprise. You okay, Midoriya? Denki asked his friend. During the whole test, you've been strung like a squeezed towel. Indeed, Midoriya-kun, Ida said. I was a bit worried to notice your very blatant stress hamper your movements a bit. The expulsion must really worry you. Fine. I'll admit that Glasses is a nice guy. Just a bit too strict. You did really well, so it's okay to rest now. Ochako comforted. Izuku, get this girl's number as soon as you can, Nana ordered. Izuku could only blush a bit at the praise before looking at Minoru Mineta, the short guy who had admired Mizo Shoji earlier, who was the last-place student. He had fallen to his hands and knees with unshed tears about to be released, something that Izuku would have no doubt copied in his position. By the way, I was lying about the expulsion. Aizawa turned off the screen and gave his class a Totoro grin. It was a rational deception to draw out the upper limits of your quirks. You could have heard a butterfly flapping its wings from how dumbfounded everyone had become. Then the dam burst. Wayoat. Almost all of the class screamed, with Izuku, Ochako, Denki, and Ida looking mortified. Mineta especially appeared as though he'd just seen a ghost, and his soul was leaving his body. I'm surprised the rest of you didn't figure that out, Momo Yaoyorozu said with her left hand on her hip as she looked at Mineta's broken existence with pity in her eyes. I'm sorry. I guess I probably should have said something. I haven't felt this stress since I thought I got Harumi pregnant. Takashi sighed. You say that like you wouldn't have wanted to become a father. Harumi muttered. Sorry, Harumi. But with how Satoshi turned out taking most of Dad's shit, I'm a bit scared to go that way. Takashi said. I'm a dad too, and I'm pretty sure I raised Nana pretty well. You kidnapped me from the orphanage when you needed an accomplice for one of your thefts. Nana accused. You make it sound like you didn't hate that place. When it was all over and I released you, you kept tagging along, telling me to take responsibility and adopt you properly. Izuku just ignored them, giving up on asking about Satoshi. At least he learned that he was the first predecessor's family member at least. That was pretty nerve-wracking, huh? Hantasiro turned to Eijiro Kirishima. I'll take up the challenge anytime. Kirishima grinned while raising his fist. With that, we're done here. There are handouts with the curriculum and such in the classroom, so when you get back, look over them. Aizawa told his students, beginning to walk away. Izuku let out a big sigh of relief at the thought of nobody being expelled. Midoriya. Izuku looked up to see Aizawa with a slip with the nurse's office. Have recovery girl fix you in the nurse's office. Tomorrow will be packed with even more rigorous tests. Prepare yourself. Aizawa handed him the slip before walking away again. Also, Aizawa stopped to speak again. Be sure to give Hound Dog a visit. He's the school counselor, and you will meet him for mandatory court counseling. Why, sir? After healing his finger and heading towards the counselor's office sluggishly, he accidentally walked into a wall of shaggy muscles. Lifting back his head, he saw a sight that chased the sluggishness away. Hunting dog hero, Hound Dog. Izuku fanboyed, with a whiplash strong enough to send the hero stepping back a bit. See, can I have your autograph? He extended a notebook, which Hound Dog would swear hadn't been on him before, especially as he wasn't carrying a bag, and a pen, bowing stiffly. I haven't signed autographs in a long time. Hound Dog said gruffly, secretly pleased to be recognized on sight as he wrote in the boy's book. As the boy stared at his signed book with something akin to worship, the other student recommended to him appeared. Perfect. Izuku Midoriya. Nito Monoma. Step into my office, the both of you. Izuku lazily walked out of UA, sighing. I'm so tired. I feel like we've made some good progress today. Hikage said. Yeah. Izuku thought as he looked at the new numbers in his phone. A hand landed on Izuku's shoulder. Izuku turned around and seeing Ida and Denki, jumped a little. Was I so tired from having my stamina drained that danger sense didn't alert me to them? I'll have to take note of that. Ida-kun, Izuku exclaimed. Keminarican. Are your fingers healed? Ida asked. Yeah, thanks to recovery girl. Izuku replied, showing his finger to them. I have to hurry up and use my quirks to their fullest potential. Speaking of quirks, Midoriya, Denki asked, causing Izuku to flinch in nervousness. I thought your quirk was a strength enhancement type you were training your body to properly handle. What was with the shadow things? Forgive me for intruding, but I would like to know as well. Ida asked politely. If you can't confide in me, I understand. No, it's fine, Izuku assured. As future classmates, you'll probably learn about it anyway. My quirk is superpower. It allows me to permanently copy up to 7 different quirks. That's so awesome and broken, Denki said in excitement. Wait though, he paused as his excitement went to trepidation. No way a quirk like that doesn't have its drawbacks. Indeed, Tinya muttered as he rubbed his chin speculatively. Yeah, the quirks I've copied are permanent, Izuku explained. Not only was I unaware of when I was copying them, I'm unable to change them for anything else. Not that I want to though. Makes sense. You were quirkless up to the exam day. Denki nodded, ignoring Tinya's shocked face. Quirkless, Tinya said. Although now that you mentioned it, Bakugo-san did say something like that. But still, does that mean that the 2 times I rebuked you that day, you were actually quirkless? After Izuku nodded, Tinya fell to his knees in guilt. I can't believe I actually rebuked you for taking the exams lightly. As a quirkless person, you would have been taking it way more seriously than almost everybody else. Midoriyakin. Tinya got to his legs and grasped Izuku's hand. I understand now. You are one of the bravest people I've ever met. Thank you. Izuku replied bashfully. Mana-mason said something similar to that back at Inui Sensei's office. Oh yeah, you had counseling to go to, Denki said. Speaking of teachers, Ida said as he walked alongside them. I was really taken in by Aizawa-sensei. I even thought, this is the best of the best and such. I didn't think a teacher would encourage us with a lie. I thought he was scary, but that's not it. He's just really serious about school, Izuku thought. Guess he's just earnest rather than a stick-up, the Denki thought before he was interrupted. Hey, you 3. Izuku, Denki and Tinya turned around to see Ochako running after them. Going to the station? Wait for me. Ochako beamed. Uraraka. Izuku thought as she stopped in front of them. You're the Infinity Girl, Tinya remarked. I'm Ochako Uraraka. Ochako introduced herself before questioning. You're Denki Kaminari, Tinya Ida, and you're Deku Midoriya, right? Deku. Izuku and Denki exclaimed. Huh, but during the fitness test, the boy named Bakugo said, Deku, you bastard. Right? Ochako asked. Izuku played with his fingers before explaining, my real name is Izuku, but Deku is what Kakin calls me to make fun of me. An insult? Tinya observed. That bastard. Denki growled. Oh, is that right? Sorry. Ochako apologized. Then she noted, but Deku sounds like Deku for you can do it. So I kinda liked it. Deku it is. Izuku turned bright red. Thahahaha. Izuku groaned as every single predecessor burst out laughing. Wasn't that an insult? Denki protested. I understand that a cute girl like Uraraka liked it, but that was way too fast. Indeed, Tinya said as he waved his arm in a chopping manner. You're accepting it too easily, Midoriyakin. Izuku steadied himself as he calmed down, then brought out his phone. Aye, if you don't mind, Izuku requested, bowing as he extended his phone. Can we exchange contacts? Sure. Ochako replied easily as she and Tinya brought out their own phones. I've already got his number, so I'll be taking you guys' own as well, Denki said as he brought out his. Good job, little knife. Nana praised. Now then, how far and fast can we push this ship? Daisy speculated. You guys are overdoing this. Hikage sweat dropped. Just remember not to be overhooked into his personal life. Takashi ordered. Everyone, I can at least be happy that I have friends, right? Izuku spectated to the others. If you aren't counting Denki, sure. Daisy said. No, I'm already counting Kaminarikan. Sorry for almost counting you out, Kaminarikan. Izuku wailed. As the 4 students passed through the gate, a tall, buxom girl with mid-length, wavy, bluish-gray hair stared at Izuku in surprise before shaking her head in silent acceptance and meeting up with the UA. Second year waiting for her. Deku. Chapter 07, Battle Trial I. Izuku Midoriya stared at his hand while walking back to homeroom from the cafeteria, where he had met the cook hero. Lunch rush. Daisy-san, are you sure that stockpile is just a physical enhancement quirk? Yeah. Why do you ask? Daisy replied. It's just that, every time I use it, my veins start glowing, but if All Might uses it, he bulks up. Izuku explained. I mean, he might just be using it along with Pump Up subconsciously, but it's like even Stockpile itself awakened during all its years. Well, it's your quirk now, little knife. Takashi said. Figure it out and use it better than we did. As the class settled down, Denki Kaminari showed Izuku news of Mount Lady figurines for sale. It's like her debut. Izuku thought as the hormonal teenage boy in him rose again after years of suppression were rendered moot thanks to constant exposure to Denki. Since he wasn't distracted by pro-heroes and villains on the scene, he could really appreciate just how her costume clung to her body, outlining her curves excellently. I know, right? Denki commented, causing Izuku to realize that he muttered that out. That ass is amazing. Let's visit after school to check it out. I want to go too. Izuku blushed and flinched as Minoru Mineta jumped in to tag along as well, the ball-haired boy actually drooling in anticipation. I am. Izuku gushed as One for All resonated with the 8th champion, heralding all might as he announced at the entrance to Class 1A before bursting through the door, coming through the door like a normal person. What's normal about that? Takashi questioned. That all-American vibe of his always cracks me up. Daisy giggled. You're the only real American among us, Hikage stated. It's All Might. Denki gawked along with the rest of the class. Wow, he really is a teacher, Eijiro Kirishima confirmed. That's a costume from the Silver Age, isn't it? Tsuyu Azui observed. Its style is so different it's giving me goosebumps, Mashareo Ojiro commented. I teach foundational hero studies. It is a subject where you train in different ways to learn the basics of being a hero. This is what we'll do today, combat training, All Might explained. Combat, Bakugo whispered excitedly. Training, Izuku finished nervously. And to go with that are these, All Might announced, gesturing to the side of the wall opposite to the door as 4 slim rows of wall opened up, revealing cases with class numbers on them, All Might continuing. Costumes made based on your quirk registrations and requests you sent in before school started. Costumes, Izuku whispered. What's with all the flexing again? Harumi asked. Don't you remember? He does it to ignore the pain, Takashi explained. I'm sorry, what? Izuku replied in shock, entering the mindscape to face them. What do you mean by pain? Little knife. Every time Toshi uses One for All, he puts his wound under immense strain. Nana explained. That's why we've been slowly reducing his time. For every time he uses it, the wound that should have killed him opens up a little. Izuku painfully remembered every time that Toshinori got excited, he'd start spewing blood. Had he seriously gotten used to it? Anyway, back to class, now student. Harumi flicked her finger, the motion somehow sending Izuku out back into real time. After you change, gather in ground beta, All Might instructed. Yes, sir. Izuku breathed at the revelation that he'd stumbled upon, thankful for his training with Aura, which now compressed entire mindscape conversations into a second. Izuku opened his case to find his suit. Isn't that the suit your mom got you? This was born from my mom's belief in me, so I'm wearing it. Izuku replied as he moved to the locker room to change. It's not state-of-the-art or flashy, but it means something to me. This is it. My hero costume. All Might waited inside ground beta before the class came walking in wearing their costumes. They say the clothes make the man, young men and ladies. Be fully aware. From now on, you are heroes. That's great, everyone. You all look cool. All Might praised them, then exclaimed, Now, shall we begin, you zygotes? Izuku stepped out of the entrance tunnel, revealing himself in a green full-body jumpsuit with a red belt, elbow pads, knee pads, and gloves, along with his signature red boots. He also wore a mask with long ear-like protrusions that resembled All Might's haircut, and a respirator with a makeshift smile on it that also resembled All Might's. Pthahaha. Talk about homage. Daigoro guffawed. Imitation is the sincerest form of flattery, Hikage said. Oh, Dikukun? Ochako Uraraka exclaimed, adjusting her helmet as she walked to him. You're a Rakusen. Izuku blushed as he observed her costume up close. Is this what Kaminarican meant by the term sensual spandex? Ochako's hero costume consisted of a black full-body suit with a pale pink design down the middle of her torso, which really complemented her slender yet curvy figure, 2 black circles on her chest, and a black rectangle below her waist, running between her legs. There were also 2 more pink patches over her shoulders, both cut off by darker pink armbands that matched the thick choker around her neck. She had circular wrist guards, a dark pink handle on the back of each one, wide knee-high boots with magenta soles, and a 2-piece belt around her waist, a circle embedded into the center where the pieces joined up, all adding up to make her look like a space-oriented babe. If only she was a few years older, Daigoro said before Hikage dope slapped him. That looks cool. Really down to earth. Ochako commented before looking at her own attire. I should have written what I wanted. Mine ended up being a skin-tight bodysuit. It's embarrassing. Ochako rubbed the back of her head. You look great. Izuku blurted before blushing madly and hastily covering his mouth in panic. Really? Thank you, Deku-kun. Ochako took his comment well, causing Izuku to sigh in relief. Mineta gave Izuku a thumbs up from nearby, causing him to tilt his head in confusion. It only increased when All Might observed Izuku's costume before hiding his mouth to lower his chuckles. Even 8th sees it. Daigoro roared in laughter. Now, it's time for combat training, All Might announced after composing himself. Sensei. Tenya Ida's voice came from a costumed student who looked like a cross between a car and a knight next to Izuku. Oh, that was Ida-kun. He looks cool, Izuku thought, glancing at Tenya beside him in the armored white suit. Izuku, take a note of Ida here and make sure to get some armor, Nana advised. As you can't use pump up yet, you have no invulnerability. Other than Third and All Might, did any of you have invulnerability? Izuku replied. This is a battle center from the entrance exam, so will we be conducting urban battles again? Tenya asked. No, we're going to move ahead 2 steps. All Might explained how they'll be fighting each other on teams, heroes versus villains. Without basic training? Azuri questioned. This is a real battle to understand those basics. However, the key this time is that there's no robot you can just beat up, All Might exclaimed. How will wins and losses be determined? Momo Yaoyorozu asked. Can we beat them up anyway? Bakugo sneered. Will the punishment be expulsion like with Izuku-sensei? Ochako fretted. Isn't this cape just crazy? Aoyama sparkled. Will you be splitting us up based on chance or comparative skill? Tenya asks. I'll answer all your questions, All Might promised. Yaoyorozu Shijo. Bakugo shounen. Ida shounen. I will explain it all momentarily. Yurika Shujojo. No expulsions here. Aoyama shunen. Yes, your cape is magnificent. He got them all. Izuku thought in wonder as Midoriya noted when All Might started to focus on Bakugo and Yaoyorozu. Teams and opponents will be determined by drawing lots, All Might added to Tenya. They're being decided so haphazardly? Tenya questioned. Pros often have to create makeshift teams with heroes from other agencies, so maybe that's why? Izuku explained to Tenya. I see. The discernment to look ahead. Please excuse my rudeness. Tenya bowed to All Might. It's fine. Let's do this quickly, All Might announced, drawing the lots for teams. King Vessel, same as Canon. Wow, it must be fate. I'm counting on you. Ochako jumped close to Izuku as they'd been chosen as a team. Oh my gosh. A madly blushing under his mask Izuku thought in a panic. I have to make a good impression on her. Is that what we're calling it these days? Takashi asked. These kids are just too cute. Daisy sighed. The first team to fight will be these guys, All Might announced, referring to Team A, Midoriya and Uraraka, and Team D, Bakugo and Ida. Team A will be the heroes, and Team D will be the villains. Everyone else, head toward the monitor room, All Might instructed. Yes, sir. Izuku looked in Bakugo's direction, only to find him looking his way, pissed. Izuku flinched away, but glared back. This surprised Bakugo, then pissed him off more, making him even growl a bit. Villain team, go in first and set up, All Might explained to Tenya and Bakugo at the building location. In 5 minutes, the hero team will break in, and the battle will start. Yes, sir, Tenya replied while Bakugo glanced at Izuku. Ida shounen, Bakugo shounen, learn to think from the perspective of the villains. This is pretty close to a real battle. Go all out. Don't be afraid to get hurt, All Might instructed. If I'm going all out, do I use all the quirks available? Izuku asked. Naturally, Takashi replied. It may seem unfair to you, but there are times when an opponent will be unfairly stronger than you, regardless of which sides you are. It's a lot of work to memorize the building's floor plans, Ochako said next to Izuku while Bakugo and Tenya went in the building. But All Might is just the same as when he's on TV. Unlike Izuku-sensei, it looks like there's no punishment, so we can relax, Ochako started telling Izuku until she looked at him, seeing him shaking while she shrieked. And you're not relaxed at all. Well, it's because we're up against Kaken, Izuku started. And there's Ida-kun too, so I feel like I need to be on guard. I see. Bakugo-san's the one who makes fun of you, right? Ochako asked in concern. He's amazing. Izuku relaxed before replying. His personality's horrible, but his goal, his confidence, his physical strength, and his quirk are way more amazing than mine. The only thing I protest there is the confidence part, Daisy yelled, and maybe the physical strength part too. I protest everything else. Indeed, how can you disparage, one for all, so casually, little ninth? I don't know his goal, but don't consider your own lesser than his or anyone else's so easily, Izuku. Hikage said. Damn right. Daigoro Ward. Obliterate that sucker. Ochako's surprise showed as Izuku suddenly showed a burst of confidence. Thank you, everyone, Izuku said while adjusting his mouthpiece. I'll win. For once in my life, I'll beat Kaken. Deku-kun. Ochako asked tentatively. Who are you talking to? And now that I'm mentioning it, there are times in class when you just stared off into space. Ah, all right. It's a side effect of my quirk. Izuku rapidly explained, bullshitted. Each of my copied quirks carries a bit of personality from the original holder. That's why I blank out sometimes, and my personality changes a bit. Oh, I see. Ochako accepted his explanation, then smirked. Well then, so it's a fated battle between rivals? Oh, sorry. This isn't your problem, Uraraka-san. Izuku waved his hands in panic. It is. We're a team, aren't we? Let's do our best. Ochako cheered, making Izuku smile. She's so precious, Daisy commented. Now, let's start the indoor person-to-person combat training with Team A and Team D. All Might announced to the teams. Inside an observing room, All Might told the students, okay, everyone, you all should think as well. Ah, All Might Sensei. Hantashiro raised in a hand to question. Is it okay for Midoriya to compete normally? I mean, he has multiple quirks. I like the guy, but isn't it totally going to be unfair to eat his team? You make a good point, Siro Shounen. All Might replied. However, there will plenty of opportunities in which a hero or villain will be outmatched against a sudden opponent. For example, imagine a battle between villains against me. Who do you believe would win? This brought about a small round of nervous chuckles at the obvious answer. If it appeases you, do note that Midoriya Shounen only got his quirk a month ago. All Might said, as he has spent most of his life quirkless, you all have the advantage of experience over him. I see. Yaoyorozu contemplated. If anything, Midoriya-san might actually be the one in a disadvantage here. Izuku and Ochako entered the building cautiously through a window. We've infiltrated successfully, Ochako whispered. There are a lot of blind spots, so let's be careful. Izuku warned her as they walked down a hallway, occasionally turning corners with their guards up. The predecessors have mentally blocked me so that I can learn on my own. Izuku thought as he felt the familiar sensations of stockpile, pulsing, black whip, slither, and railgun, crackle. Adding danger sense and Uraraka-san's zero gravity, we've got a winning chance. Kaken's about to attack. Thanks to danger sense, warning, Izuku quickly darted back, carrying Ochako away from Bakugo's surprise attack. Ochako yelped a bit as Izuku's dive pushed her down, shielding her from the worst of it. Uraraka-san, are you all right? Izuku asked as stockpile burst to life in his body. Yeah, thanks. Ochako coughed from the smoke. How about you? I'm fine. Izuku replied, crouched and getting ready to move. But still, he ditched Idaken and came as I expected. Bakugo waved the dust from his explosion away, standing tall and looking down on the two heroes. A large gouge had been torn into the concrete wall from explosion's power. Come on, Deku, Bakugo taunted. Don't dodge. I knew you'd come at me first. Izuku rose to his feet. I figured you'd try to catch me by surprise. I won't do so much damage that this fight gets stopped, but I'm going to get close. Bakugo shouted at Izuku as he charged forward. However, Izuku grabbed his arm, making him blink in surprise. Stockpile, 5% Oklahoma smash. Izuku slammed Bakugo over his shoulder and into the ground, spit coming from his mouth as his body actually bounced upwards from the impact. You always start with a big right swing. How much and how long do you think I've been watching you? I wrote an analysis for all the heroes I thought were amazing in my notebooks. Like notebook number 13 that you blew up and threw away. Izuku explained, some buried anger leaking into the final part of his words. Deku, Bakugo growled as he got up. Don't call me that. Not anymore. Izuku growled back, surprising Ochako and Bakugo. The Deku you created from defenseless Izuku is no more. My Deku is born from Urarakusen's Deku. Even though you're scared and weak. Bakugo started, gritting his teeth. You still stand in my way? That's what I hate about you. Oh really? Izuku said in a strangely dissonant, yet serene tone. For some reason, it horribly unnerved everyone, including All Might who was listening in. Kakin, do you know why I started with my notebooks? When I became diagnosed as quirkless, I felt horrible for just the simple fact that I might never become a hero with you. My dad, who you know has to work overseas, and thus we hardly get a chance to physically see him, gave me the idea and will to create these notebooks. They aren't just my notebooks. They are a symbol of the belief that my dad had for me from the very beginning. And then you burn it and threw it into the fish tank. Survival instincts won against pride as Bakugo's feet moved back a bit. The truth is, while I don't know if I hate you or like you, one thing is definitely for sure. Izuku's body suddenly burst with power as a translucent green aura, cracking the ground and walls around him. I have never forgiven you for what you did to hero analysis for the future number 13, or what you told me to do afterwards. What did he tell Deku-kun / Midoriya Shounen? Ochako and All Might thought simultaneously. Just shut up and defend. Bakugo suddenly growled into his earpiece, presumably to Tenya. There's a nerd in front of me that I'm really angry at right now. Uraraka-san, go? Izuku yelled at her when Bakugo blasted himself toward him. It's fine. He's totally gonna ignore you. Bakugo proved Izuku right by launching right past her to land a hastily blocked kick, letting her run off to find Tenya. Looking away? You must be full of yourself. Izuku quickly wrapped Black Whip around Bakugo's leg, trapping it to his arm and flinging him away as he came with an attack from his right again. Due to him not having stable footing, Bakugo was sent flying away by his own attack. Izuku slid back as Bakugo started to regard him much more cautiously. Bakugo got ready to charge at Izuku again before he suddenly started running away, much to Bakugo's surprise. Come back here, Deku! Bakugo yelled, running after Izuku. I have to lead him away for the plan to work. Izuku thought, occasionally using railgun to throw small green lightning bolts at Bakugo whenever danger sense warned him of him getting too close. Hey, you tricked me, didn't you? Was it fun tricking me all this time? Bakugo gave up chasing as he yelled, huh? You've got some flashy quirks there, don't you? Try and get me with them. 'Cause I'm better than you, no matter what. Izuku suddenly stopped before going back to him. There you are? Bakugo yelled as Izuku suddenly jumped out of a corner. You shitty. He was cut off as Izuku suddenly punched him in the cheek, sending him flying across the hallway till he cracked the wall. Tricking you. Izuku screamed at Bakugo as he slid down the wall. Do you think I went through years of bullying all for the sake of tricking you? How the fuck did you reach that idea? Bakugo launched himself at Izuku, blasting him with enough power to shake the floor, but as the smoke cleared, it was revealed that Black Whip had simply formed an impenetrable wall between him and Izuku. The wall went down only to reveal Izuku, covered in viridian sparks and crimson vein-like tendrils on his appearance, crackling with pure, unadulterated power, zipped towards Bakugo and recreated the very first move he, well, technically Takashi, used, one for all for on a non-lethal scale. Superpower, 9% Mizutafu Smash. Izuku's dropkick sent Bakugo flying into no through the wall and into the other. Izuku held back a yell as he felt his body ache terribly. Even though he hadn't broken anything, he still felt like his muscles were trying to pull themselves apart. I can't believe that just 9% caused this much damage. Izuku winced as the pain slowly faded away, looking at the wall he'd sent Bakugo through, both inwards and out. Deku-kun. Uraraka-san, how's it going? Izuku responded to Ochako through his comms. Ida found me. Sorry. Where are you? Izuku asked. The middle of the 5th floor. Almost directly above. Izuku observed. Looking up, Midoriya noted. We probably don't have much time left, either. If we run out of time, our opponents win. Izuku stood up to face Bakugo as he blasted the wall he smashed through, making the hole big enough to walk through. I can't lose this fight. A ping sounded as Bakugo's grenade-like right gauntlet flashed red on the black lines between the green sections. I'm all loaded up, Bakugo said as he raised a fist. What does that mean? Izuku asked, being wary as danger sense started to go haywire. I've heard that the first quirk you copied and used was All Might's, Bakugo said as he made a sort of deranged expression. Why won't you use it? Are you saying you can win even if you don't use it? Are you underestimating me, Deku? Why aren't I using it? Izuku repeated incredulously. I am using it. I'm just not trying to kill you, Kakin. Bakugo gritted his teeth before he started smirking. With your stalking, you probably already know, but my quirk, Explosion, lets me secrete nitroglycerin-like sweat from the sweat glands on the palm of my hand and make it explode. Bakugo pulled back a handle on his grenade, a small pin appearing, adding, if they made it this the way I asked, then these gauntlets will store the nitroglycerin inside them, and Bakugo put his finger on the pin to pull it out. Pull out one crazy awesome blast. Bakugo's comms flashed as if someone was speaking to him at the moment. Bakugo ignored them, looking straight forward with an insane expression on his face. He'll be fine as long as he dodges. X-Cannon. He pulled the pin, shooting forward a massive fireball which roared out of the support gauntlet, tearing apart the walls of the corridor as it raced towards Izuku. Izuku tried to block with Black Whip, but was too slow, only managing to save himself a bit as he made a point of dodging and blocking at the same time. Bakugo grinned at the damage he'd dealt Izuku as the boy laid shell-shocked on the floor, his costume mask gone entirely and his right sleeve missing. Is that even allowed? Izuku gaped at the destruction around him. He would have needed a huge amount of any of the combat quirks he had to cause this much damage. Dekun, Whathappned. Izuku winced as he tore out his comms. It had melted and was sparking from the heat of Bakugo's attack. Look around, Deku. The more that's stored in these gauntlets, the stronger the blast. Bakugo growled as stalked forward as his left gauntlet pinged as well. Come on, use All Might's quirk, Deku. I'll force you to surrender even if you're at full strength. He'll be fine as long as he dodges? Izuku stared at Bakugo with some fear and a little betrayal. Kakin, were you just trying to kill me? Huh. Bakugo suddenly questioned not to him, but to his comms. That's most likely All Might calling him out. Izuku thought as he saw the burns on his arms slowly fading away. Just as I thought. Stockpile isn't a strength enhancement quirk, it's an energy generator. Since it's healing my wounds as I'm currently in full cowl, this means that I can use it to heal any wounds I get as long as I don't go over the limit my body can handle before running the risk of breaking down. Fine then, let's fight it out with our fists. Bakugo yelled, making his way to Izuku and interrupting his internal monologue. It's no good. I can't dodge it. A counterattack. Watch the timing. Izuku's attack was rendered meaningless as Ochako dropped down from the sky and through the large hole in the wall to drop-kick Bakugo in the face, which sent him flying back. You're a Rakusen, Izuku exclaimed in shock. How? Why? For the first question, I jumped out a window and used my quirk on myself. Ochako replied as she pulled up Izuku to his feet. As for the second, of course I came. A blast big enough to shake the building happened, and you weren't responding in your comms. BB, but you shouldn't be here. Izuku replied as he eyed Bakugo roaring and getting up again. We both have our roles to fulfill, and now, because of me, the plan's ruined. Forget the plan. Ochako shot him down. You're my partner and my friend before that. Why wouldn't I come down to help you? You're in the way, round face. Bakugo roared. Black Whip was faster, latching onto him, and with a heavy grunt, Izuku slammed him into a wall for the third time. As Bakugo started to get up again, Ochako took the chance to tag him with zero gravity, somehow grab hold of Black Whip. It was still attached to him. Ochako just grabbed a hold of the tendril and begun slamming him against the walls, ceiling and floor for all she was worth. Izuku had been left standing there slack-jawed as the sweet, friendly girl treated the other boy as a piñata, except Bakugo was the piñata and the surroundings were the bat to spill the innards. Zero gravity, indeed. It was at times like this that caused Izuku to remember that even though quirks were essentially believed as physical functions of one's body with corresponding drawbacks, there were still phenomena which essentially just existed to make the rules of biology, chemistry, and physics their bitch. Case in point, the zero gravity he was currently seeing Ochako apply on the foul-mouthed piñata that was Bakugo was definitely causing the laws of inertia and buoyancy to go have a drinking game elsewhere from this dimension. I think he's had enough, Uraraka-san. Izuku tentatively deactivated Black Whip, releasing a dazed Bakugo onto his knees as Ochako deactivated zero gravity. Sorry, Deku-kun. Ochako sheepishly scratched the back of her head, staggering a bit from the nausea she had subjected herself to. Now then, Izuku walked up to Bakugo, who weakly glared at him. Bakugo. Izuku placed a hand on his shoulder. Do you remember the last time you placed your hand on my shoulder? Bakugo only had 3 seconds. The first was for confusion. The second was remembrance. The third was a pure look of terrified shock that Izuku would secretly memorize and treasure to his last day while publicly denying it. Railgun, 1200-volt point-blank charge. Bakugo was suddenly hit with emerald electricity originating from Izuku's still clenching hand for a solid 4 seconds. Afterwards, he fainted. After tying him up with the capture tape, Izuku turned to Ochako, who had now recovered. Let's go, Uraraka-san. Ochako stared at him a bit in ponder before nodding her head in acceptance. Call me Okakakin. Yeah. Izuku's face blew crimson, some sparks actually dancing through his hair. Is that really okay? I'm the one who suggested it, aren't I? Ochako replied. Besides, Bakugo was the one who gave you that nickname, right? Izuku stilled before reluctantly nodding. In that case, it's really fine, Ochako assured him. I've essentially been calling you by a different reading of your first name after all. You can do the same for me. Well then, Izuku breathed carefully. May I call you Akin? The bright smile he received could have pierced black holes. Now then, Akin, Izuku commanded, after getting composure over himself. Time's almost up. We deal with Idakin now. Right. Ochako replied with a bit of a dark aura and smile, which surprised Izuku a bit. I'm all fired up. Izuku stared back a bit before smiling back. Right. Let's go ahead. Chapter 08, Battle Trial 2. Izuku, Midoriya, and Ochako hurried up to the top floor, where their last opponent awaited them. So he cleared away everything? Izuku asked as they ran. Not only did Idakin clean away all possible weapons for your quirk, he's actively avoiding contact with you? Why wise? Ochako panted, a bit jealous of her partner's stamina. He's really into the villain role. He even carries along the bomb with him. Izuku pondered a bit before looking back to her. I have a plan. So you have returned, Uraraka. Tenya Ida declared in an incredibly hammy manner. Seeing as you are here alone, I assume that Bakugo-kun has lost and Midoriya-kun is too injured to assist you. The situation is no different from before. It is your loss, hero. Ochako smirked back. Well, you're only right about one thing. Bakugo lost. With that, she rushed forward towards him, fingertips at the ready. However, Tenya dodged her, carrying the bomb as he dashed around the room. It's useless. I am utterly incompatible against you, hero. It's not useless. Ochako yelled back, struggling and chasing him about until finally, she fell to her knees in exhaustion. Due to her earlier fight than the rapid climbing of stairs, she was really running on fumes now. Luckily, Izuku factored that as well. Now that I've made Idakin lose some energy and gain some paranoia, Deku-kun, you can drop in now. Tenya instantly turned his sight to the windows and roof. A sneak attack from above. No, it came from underneath. Black Whip, Headhunter. Dozens of green-tinged shadow tendrils ripped through the ground to entangle Tenya, gripping him tight. Oh no, Nizan showed me a pre-quirk horror movie about this now. With that, Tenya was pulled underneath, leaving the bomb for Ochako's swift dive, while Izuku tagged the capture tape on the wailing Tenya. No, the weapon. Hero Team wins. All Might's voice went out over the speakers, ending the exercise. Izuku stumbled as he held a nauseous Ochako's arm over his shoulder, while wincing from the ruckus the predecessors threw in his head. You won. Daisy cheered. Well done, little knife. Takashi congratulated. Indeed, you've truly outdone yourself, little knife. Hikage praised. Deku-kun, Izuku snapped out to look at Ochako, blushing from how close she was. I know that it's not my place to ask, but what did Bakugo say to you? Kacha Bakugo said something to me that many others already did. Izuku replied, turning his head to indicate his discomfort with this topic. It just really hurt to come from him of all people. I see, Ochako replied. Behind them, a depressed Tenya and despondent Bakugo followed, with the latter alternating between gritting his teeth in rage and numbing from shock with the same words repeating over and over like a mantra in his head. I lost to Deku. 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 Come back, Bakugo shouted. All Might placed a hand on Bakugo's shoulder, causing him to realize that he'd been left behind. It's time to review the results. Well, despite the results, All Might said as the 4 members of the first group returned to the observation room with him for a review of the match. The MVP of this exercise is Ida Shounen. Tenya looked at All Might in surprise while Bakugo's head was lowered, face hidden by his explosively spiky hair. It's not either of the winners, Okakukin or Midoriyakin. Tsuyu Azui asked. All Might hummed in approval at her critical thinking. Valid question. Why didn't I choose one of those two? Who has a guess? Yes, All Might Sensei. Momo Yaoyorozu raised her hand. I can explain why. That is because Daisen adapted the most to the context of the training. From watching the match, it appears Bakugo-san acted on his own because of an obviously personal grudge. And as All Might Sensei said earlier, it is foolish to launch a large-scale attack indoors. In the same way, Midoriya-san accepted this grudge and fought accordingly, turning a training exercise into their own dual sight. As for Uraraka-san, while abandoning her role to save Midoriya-san from a potentially dangerous enemy could be seen as admirable, she completely neglected her role, leaving the villain to do as he wanted. The hero team only won because Daisen was too honorable to attack Uraraka-san when she turned her back on him. Forget saying it all correctly. This girl said it better than I could. All Might thought in surprise. Well, Ida Shounen also has parts of him that could be more relaxed, but well, that was all correct. All right, everyone. Let's change locations and start the second match. All Might instructed. Tackle this training after reviewing what we just talked about. Yes, sir. Shoto Todoroki and Shoji Mizo versus Mashireo Ojiro and Toru Hagakure. Ojiroken. Toru Hagakure, a girl whose quirk rendered her invisible with only her gloves and shoes to indicate her presence, called out to her partner. I'm gonna get serious. I'll take off my gloves and boots, too. Okay, Ojiro nervously responded. Hagakure-san, that's the correct decision as an invisible person, but the fact that there's a naked girl so close to me is really distracting. You can't look okay? Hagakure asked, apparently just realizing what she'd just done. The only piece of her existence left was her floating comms. What's the difference? Ojiro asked. I can't see you even if I tried. Now, let's start the indoor person-to-person combat training with Team B and Team I. All Might announced to the teams. Mizo Shoji spread his tentacly arms out at the sound of the buzzer, turning the tip from one of them into an ear. Meanwhile, Shoto Todoroki, a heterochromatic guy with his short hair divided in white and red halves, walked into the building behind where Mizo silently stood, scouting. The ear Shoji had formed morphed into a mouth. One in the hall on the north side on the 4th floor, the mouth told Todoroki. The other is somewhere on the same floor. Both are barefoot, I think. A second mouth came down from the tentacle tip above it. I bet Hagakure-san plans to ambush and capture us. Go outside for your own safety. Todoroki stepped past Shoji. I'm sure our opponents intend to fight a defensive battle. As he spoke, Todoroki raised his right hand, releasing icy mist from it, and placed it on the wall. But that does not matter to me. As soon as his hand made contact with the wall, ice sprang forth, spreading over every inch of the hallway and going upwards. As Shoji ran out, he gasped as he saw the ice spread its domain over the outside as well. Almost all of the class had huddled together from the cold, with Azui even threatening to go into hibernation. Amazing, Izuku said, both of his hands now occupied with taking notes. Thankfully, he was too distracted to notice Ochako leaning into him for warmth. Denki, on the other hand, noticed and smiled. This exercise was one perfectly suited to Todoroki and Shojizen's skill sets. Really, Midorikin? Mina Ashido asked. Shojizen's quirk is so cool. I mean, it's perfect for reconnaissance and for rescues. It showed how far gone he was that Izuku didn't notice the nickname. During a rescue mission, he would be able to hear for any survivors, making him an exceptional asset for disaster areas. And for Todoroki, Izuku continued. To have exceptional power and control over his ice ramps up his versatility immensely. I wonder if he can make constructs. Excellent analysis, Midoriya Shounen. All Might praised. He was one of the few people not shivering at all. Todoroki Shounen didn't cause any damage to his teammate or the nuclear weapon, and on top of that, weakened the enemy. He's so strong, Eijiro Kirishima said as Bakugo looked to the view with something akin to despair. Izuku watched him in slight worry, still feeling something for his neighbor. Hero Team wins. Todoroki placed his left hand on the bomb, creating an instant blast of heat that melted all of the ice in an instant. Heat. Ojiro looked around as the surrounded ice steamed off. It's hot. Hagakure stuttered, hopping from the hot water dripping to the floor. Sorry. Todoroki spoke in an indifferent tone. The difference between us was too great. Wow. Rikido Sato stuttered. What's up with that quirk? Denki questioned, feeling intimidated from the fellow elemental's greater control. Heat, too. Izuku ran the risk of tearing up his notebook. Is it heat generation or fire generation? Can he use both sides simultaneously? Seriously, Deku-kun, how did you get your notebook in here? Ochako asked but was ignored. As expected of someone who got in through recommendations. Azui commented. Now then, another quick review before moving on. While the class answered, Bakugo just grit his teeth harder. The rest of the battles went on, giving Izuku enough info to actually fill hero analysis for the future number 15, to his great despair and the predecessor's amusement. Finally, the class reached its end. They've all got some real potential. Nana praised. I especially like that Sato boy's muscles. Kirishima's as well. Please shut up, muscle fetishist. Harumi said. Good work, everyone. All Might declared to the class. We didn't have any major injuries either. Excellent first day of training, all around. To have such a proper class after Aizawa-sensei's orientation, it's kind of anticlimactic. Azui sighed while half the class nodded. We're free to have proper classes, as well? Well then, I must go and review the results. Midoriya Shounen, remember to meet Recovery Girl for your burns. The rest of you, change and return. All Might started before dashing off fast enough to leave a dust cloud, echoing, to the classroom. All Might's amazing, Denki exclaimed. Why was he in such a hurry? Ojiro questioned. So cool, Minoru Mineta muttered. Bakugo Shounen really is overflowing with pride. So much that Midoriya Shounen's description feels underwhelming to what I've seen. All Might thought as he dashed towards the staff room. His ego may be justified, but a school like UA is bound to shatter it. As his teacher, it's my sworn duty to counsel him well, but it'll have to wait. All Might thought as his body began steaming. If I teach a class. He ran through the door, and as it closed, a burst of steam erupted around his body when he fell back into his emaciated true form, gaunt and sunken eyes filled with frustration as he struggled to catch his breath. I barely have time. Shit. Now then, I hereby call in the Council of One for All. The predecessors were seated in chairs, surrounding a classical round table, all made from stone. They were all seated by their numbers, with Izuku between Daisy and the golden fiery form of the ever-absent All Might. Little Knife, are you sure you don't want to talk about Bakugo? Hikage tentatively asked. Yes, I want to deal with him myself. Izuku replied. Well, it's your choice. Just be careful, Little Knife. Takashi said. Well, if anything happens, Daisy threw an arm around him. We are here. And in case of emergencies, Remember that Black Whip is sometimes automatic and always ready for maiming, Banjo said, causing both the fourth and the sixth to dope slap him. After getting healed, I felt so exhausted from both the burns and using one for all that I missed afternoon classes. Izuku thought to himself as he returned to class and opened the door. Aizawa-sensei's probably gonna choke me with his scarf. Oh, Midori is here. Good work, Kirishima said as he spotted Izuku. Izuku gasped as Kirishima, Hantasiro, Ashido, and Sato all crowded around him. Man, I don't know what you were saying during the match, but you were fired up, Kirishima beamed. I can't believe you fought evenly with Bakugo, who was first in the entrance exam. Siro pointed out. Uraraka was awesome too in how she jumped in. You did a good job fighting, Ashido gushed. You guys did that in the first match, so the rest of us had to give it our all, too, Sato remarked. You were far from elegant, but Yuga Aoyama leaned past the girl. You really did a good job fighting, Ashido repeated, cutting off Aoyama and jumping closer to Izuku. Huh? Izuku's cheeks turned slightly red. Don't say that. You totally deserve the praise, Nana encouraged. Yeah, it's totally earned, Daisy added. Hey, I'm Ijiro Kirishima. Kirishima introduced himself. We've been going over training results while you were in recovery. I'm Hantasiro. I'm Yuga Aoyama tried introducing himself before getting interrupted by Ashido again. I'm Mina Ashido. You did a good job fighting, Ashido repeated. Is this girl a Blood Knight? Takashi asked. If so, she's a really friendly one, Hikage commented. If a bit rude to that Aoyama boy. I'm Tsuyu Azui. Azui peeked out from behind Mina. Call me Tsukin. I'm Rikido Sato. He gave a thumbs up. Izuku was starting to get flustered from the honest, friendly gestures he was getting. You already know me, but I'm Minoru Mineta. He jumped up into a pose. Where the hell did you pop out from? Ijiro wondered. I am Yuga Aoyama. I am a man who never stops shining. Aoyama sparkled. You did terrible in the training, Rikido pointed out to Yuga's displeasure. So noisy, Fumikage Tokoyami muttered from the other side of the classroom while sitting on his desk. Tokoyamakin, Tenya declared as he strode towards the bird-headed boy with his arms making stiff motions. Stop using that desk as a chair. Get off of it this instant. Ida-kun never relaxes, does he? Izuku thought with an awkward smile as the other students around the door watched him with various looks of confusion, exasperation, resignation, or amusement. He needs to get laid, Daigoro declared. He's 15, I think. Hikage deadpanned. So, Daisy asked. We all know little Ninth needs that himself. Thankfully, Izuku got distracted by something else. So, anyway, wanna grab a bite sometime? What kind of stuff do you like? Denki asked Ochako as they walked into the classroom carrying stacks of books. Machi Ochako answered before noticing Izuku. Deku-kun. She and Denki ran over to him. What took you so long? Sorry guys. Izuku sheepishly replied. I overused my quirk a bit, and Recovery Girl warned me that using quirks that weren't originally suited for my body would take a bit more energy and stamina from me than normal. So that's your drawback, huh? Denki muttered. I guess there's no such thing as a perfect quirk with zero drawbacks. And it was so versatile too. I really wonder if there's such a quirk like that, Keminarican. Izuku wondered before noticing Bakugo's empty seat. Bakugo. Bakugo stopped on his way out of UA, looking back to see a panting Izuku who had run all the way from the classroom. What do you want? Bakugo growled. Izuku stared back and slowly breathed. Everything I said to you, back then, was the truth. You don't seem to believe me, thinking that I let myself get bullied and tortured just to pull one over you. So, I just wanted to get that clear. Huh. Bakugo actually blanched before an ever-familiar anger took over his expression. What the hell, Deku? You go from some quirkless shit to this. Don't talk to me like I'm an idiot. You already made a fool out of me in that damn training exercise. So, did you come here to rub it in? I lost. And to make matters worse, it was to you. Why do you have to make it sound like it's a bad thing? Izuku yelled back. You always so confident. So strong. I admired you so much that I actually ignored all the shit you did to me. Bakugo, I always admired you, not just for your quirk, but for your strength, your confidence, and your tenacity. But the sad thing is I could never see those things wherever we interacted with each other. You always yelled at and attacked me. Deku, don't call me that. Izuku hated how his voice cracked. After having Uraraka-san speak that name kindly, it just hurts to hear it from the origin. Every damn day of being called useless. And you know the worst part, Bakugo? You're not even the worst of them. You've never cheated, you never actually used lethal force against me except today, and I know that despite your powerful quirk, you actually worked hard at everything else to get this far. Bakugo could only stare silently at Izuku as he ranted. I understand that I was a bit obsessed with you, which might have influenced some of it, but for someone who called me a pebble, you seem pretty obsessed back. That caused a rise. What? I'm not obsessed with you. I don't care what you do with your shitty life. You're not even competition for me. Bakugo shrieked. If that was true, then you wouldn't have tried to stop me from applying to UA. Izuku shot back. Take a swan dive off the roof and pray that you get a quirk in your next life. That was the lowest for you, Bakugo. You were my first friend, Bakugo. Of all the ones who hurt and bullied me, to have it from you made you the worst of them all. I mean, you weren't even the only one to tell me that. Hell, I got notes like that at least twice a week back in Aldera. And I can't. Izuku devolved into a bit of anguish. Lately you've been nothing but a villain to me, Bakugo. Izuku muttered, feeling a different kind of exhaustion that wasn't related to Recovery Girl's quirk. You've always said that you were going to be the #1 hero. Like All Might is. But the thing is, everyone looks up to him because he makes them feel safe. You don't do that. Looking back on it, I can't remember the last time I was in your presence, and I didn't flinch if you looked in my direction. Izuku then gasped as if he remembered something. But you stopped. After the sludge villain incident, you actually stopped for a whole 10 months. You were actually becoming better. Then Izuku deflated. Then, somehow, me awakening my quirk caused some kind of relapse, and then you tried to kill me today. This really sucks, Bakugo. Bakugo opened his mouth, not entirely sure what he could possibly say to this. In the end, all he could manage was a very soft, "You aren't calling me Kakin anymore." Izuku managed a sad smile, with hidden tears almost being held back. We both know that you haven't been Kakin for years now. There was a long minute of silence between them before Bakugo turned around and started to leave. I'm still going to be the #1 hero, no matter what, Bakugo declared. But still, you've given me a lot to think about, Izuku. Izuku stared blankly at Bakugo's back, shocked at the name that hadn't slipped past Bakugo's lips for 14 years. Also, I'm sorry. A sudden blast of wind blew past, causing Izuku to almost miss those words. He reached out to his first friend, but then Bakatsuki's back disappeared as he turned past the school gate. Was this really okay? Izuku muttered before feeling 8 separate and invisible hands on his shoulders. No, it's not. But it's a start, little knife. In a nearby bush, Toshinori Yagi sat in silence, feeling a weird pressure on his palms as if he was pressing it against something, before pulling out his phone. For the first time, he regretted knowing too little about his successor's life before meeting him. Nao Masakin, Toshinori spoke quietly. I need a favor. No time limit required. Nizu, principal of Ultima Academia High School, commonly known as UA, an unidentified chimera, silently watched the scene from his office, thanks to a hidden camera on site. As Midoriyakin says, it seems Bakugo-kun is on the road to self-atonement, and considering that Midoriya shows no sign of being intimidated, his forgiveness is genuine. Nizu got off his chair and looked through his shelf for some files. Well, while it's all good if my precious students can resolve matters on their own, Nizu smiled very slowly. This was not the pleasant smile he showed his comrades, parents, and students, nor was it the empty smile she showed government officials or the media. It was one which looked best on sharks and crocodiles, which interestingly were considered the less dangerous option between every single person who knew Nizu. Aldera Junior High. Nizu found the files he was looking for, thumbing through Izuku and Katsuki's inaccurate reports. It's always nice to have a pet project. No way. He actually became a teacher there. The person speaking was the buxom girl with bluish-gray hair, who'd recognized Izuku on his first day. She was in the bar with a strange bluish ball of opaque slimy liquid in her lap. A man seemingly composed of black mist for his body and a hulking, muscled mass of black with an exposed pink brain, beady eyes, and a beak-like face with rows of exposed teeth. "Hey, Kurogiri, let's do it. I want to see what Sensei's weapon can do," the girl gushed. "If it really can kill All Might." The ball of slime wriggled almost threateningly. Chapter 09: Challenges and Redemption. Katsuki Bakugo huffed, aimlessly glaring at the ground beneath him. As far as shitty days went, then this one really took the cake. Not only had izuku defeated him in class today, he had also given him an immense tongue lashing that was in hindsight 11 long years overdue. It pissed him off, creating a kind of anger that welled up in his chest more so than his head and made it hard to reach his hands, made it hard to vent in the violent way he was so used to with explosion. A wet anger that seemed to have direct access to his eyes, triggering them to produce tears. He hadn't cried in a very long time. Not since his seemingly gentle dad had heavily scolded him for blasting izuku in the face with his quirk back when they were kids. It was probably the start of when he switched from physical hitting to just shouting loudly with explosion for emphasis. Izuku had gotten enough trauma to tremble from just that. Looking back on it, I can't remember the last time I was in your presence, and I didn't flinch if you looked in my direction. Katsuki would never say it aloud, but he couldn't either. I've almost got him, just a little bit lower. The sudden shout caught Katsuki's attention. He stopped and looked up, beholding an odd yet rather concerning sight on the road ahead of him. Having decided a detour, definitely not in the mood to go home right away, the blonde had cut off from his normal route down a side path near UA. His walk had led him to a rather calm and mostly empty journey through the suburbs. The current path Katsuki had been walking along ran next to a river with high walls for an embankment. Ahead of him were a few children, 2 boys, scrawny and bulky respectively, plus a set of legs sticking up in the air on the other side of the wall. What the hell were these guys trying to do? Some kind of shitty bravery challenge? Katsuki frowned. No, one of them just yelled about almost having gotten something. So they must have been trying to retrieve an item, most likely a toy. Drawing closer to the wall and peering over, Katsuki saw the third child reaching for something that wasn't a toy, but rather a small animal that was stuck on a small ledge that jutted out along the entire length of the wall. A puppy. His eyes wandered over the child reaching for the frightened animal, not liking the dangerous way they dangled above the river below one bit. Rotten lead filled his gut and pitted itself uncomfortably as he watched the kid with bright red shoes that reminded him of Izuku's get lowered another inch, tiny hands splayed and at the ready to snatch the poor creature. Katsuki glanced away and down at the water that gurgled below before darting towards the boy that so precariously held onto his friend. If that big kid were to somehow lose his grip, whether it be from the fatigue of holding onto the other one's weight, or because his meaty hands had gotten too sweaty, then Red Shoe would be looking at a fall that was the equivalent of jumping from the window of a 2-story building. And forget whether this kid knew how to swim or not. A fall from this height, head first, would be like hitting concrete hard enough to knock them out before giving them a chance to resurface. And though the current wasn't much faster than a leisure whirlpool at a water park, it had easily dragged the child further downstream while simultaneously drowning them. A new, horrible sensation suddenly accosted the pit in Katsuki's stomach as the cons racked up larger than the sum of pros. Vaguely, he recognized the feeling as a form of panic, the kind that was a secondary cousin to concern and irrational in most senses. Yet with all these facts surrounding him, supporting more bad endings and scenarios than good, this panic felt weirdly rational to him. It wasn't like when he struggled against the sludge villain, when he had been terrified of the air being stolen from his own lungs, when he had been afraid for himself. It was a sense of peril that came from watching someone else in potential danger, an overwhelming need to intervene and protect. A desire and concept that was surprisingly unfamiliar to the one that strived to be even greater than the greatest number 1 hero, All Might himself. Did Izuku's words cause this weird feeling in me? You look like you were asking for help. At the memory of Izuku's words, Katsuki's feet began moving on their own, the only direction guiding them leading directly towards stupid kids trying to be heroes. He'd drag Red Shoe up himself and tell the kid that he'd get the dog, and once he did that, then he'd yell at them for being dumb, for not getting an adult or an actual pro hero. Just so long as no one fell, then this dread welling up within him wouldn't get its way. Just so long as they were safe, then he could relax. As Katsuki drew closer, the kid dangling by their feet crowed, "I got him! I got him! Pull me up, Karazu!" Instead of following through with the command, the boy that held Red Shoe's legs, Karazu, looked over at the scrawny kid next to him. They seemed to have some silent conversation with each other, which lasted no more than a few seconds. But when the boy looked forward again, he had the most ugliest expression ever etched onto his fat little face. Pure, twisted delight curled the lips on his chubby cheeks into a crooked smile, his eyes wide and shining with a special kind of cruelty that only children seemed to know how to wield. Katsuki recognized that look, his pace increasing as the boy leaned out a little further, the other kid crying in surprise as they swayed above the water. He recognized that look due to how many times he wore it himself before subjecting Deku to some new form of torture. Karazu, what are you doing?" Red Shoe cried out. "I heard somewhere that if you put a quirkless under a lot of stress, they can mutate a quirk on the spot. Want to do an experiment for us, Aya-chan?" Fatty and Twig sniggered as they watched Red Shoe struggle around. The fat kid let go of a leg, and a scream erupted from the smaller child. Katsuki was running now, flinging his backpack to the ground and fuming hard enough to get his hands smoking. "Oi, what the hell do you punks think you're doing?" All eyes turned on him, and Fatty's mouth formed a surprised "oh," right as he let his grip on the other leg go slack. Twig mentioned something about Yue, and suddenly both boys were booking it away from the river. That hardly mattered though, as Katsuki's attention fully riveted itself upon the child that freely fell towards the churning water below. Katsuki barely felt it as his coat slipped off his arms, or the way the muscles in his legs coiled when he jumped over the wall and into the river. There was rage and fear mixing themselves in adrenaline cocktail as his feet broke the water's surface first, creating a cushion that numbed and absorbed the shock of impact. Millions and millions of little bubbles coalesced around him as he sunk. But when he opened his eyes to the underwater realm, the worst thing he felt as he tried to find the kid in the yellow hoodie was desperation. The water was murky enough that he couldn't see very far ahead, and already the lack of oxygen in his chest was beginning to burn, so Katsuki propelled upwards in hopes that maybe, just maybe, the kid hadn't been knocked unconscious. He broke the surface, gasping. Blinking water from his eyes, he paddled forward, the lead in his stomach turning into a weight that made him feel like sinking as he saw no sign of the kid. Just as he was about to dive back under and try again, a pale arm shot out of the water with a shaking little puppy yapping in fright and clinging to the equally small hand. Seconds later, the pink head of the kid broke through the surface, gasping, coughing, and choking on water all at once. But just as quickly as the child had reappeared, they dipped back under the water, the ability to stay afloat thwarted by a greater struggle to breathe properly. With powerful strokes and the lazy push of the river, Katsuki glided through the water and latched onto the kid's wrist before it completely submerged, saving both child and canine from the confines of a watery grave. He dragged the small body towards him and grunted in mild relief once he heard breathless gasps. Snaking his left arm under the kid's arms, Katsuki made sure that both animal and child were firmly pressed up against his side before mostly kicking his way towards the high wall that towered above the river. His energy drained quicker with the added weight, and only the use of one arm, not to mention swimming with thick shoes like his only, seemed to make his movements more slower and useless. Still, Katsuki gritted his teeth and plowed forward like the stubborn fighter he was until his hand was scrabbling for a hold on the flat surface of the concrete wall. Now to just find a way back up. Scaling the wall was out of the question as there weren't very many handholds to begin with, and all of them were spaced too far away from each other. Add in the fact that he didn't have nearly strength to carry a kid up a completely vertical incline with just one hand, and that idea was absolutely garbage. Finally, because he was soaked right to the bone, there was no chance in hell of him being able to use explosion to blast his way up. The only other option was to let the current carry them to an outlet, but Katsuki didn't have the luxury or patience to wait for something like that. They slowly inched their way further downstream, and Red Shoe coughed and spluttered against his shoulder, the noise itself growing weaker at the same rate they were going limp. Katsuki's arm tightened around the kid, and he tried to shake them a little. "Hey, don't fall asleep," he barked. The kid groaned in response, followed by a shiver. "Shit," he muttered. All his life, he'd only seen heroes save the helpless civilian from the source of danger. Never had it been shown how to take care of the civilian after if they were injured or dying. It was always death-defying feats, explosions, and big, flashy battles in which the hero triumphed over the villain. For all the talk he had about going pro, when it boiled down to it, Katsuki didn't know what to do when it came to delivering the most essential help: first aid. It hurt to realize that this was a situation in which Izuku easily triumphed over him. And he wasn't even here, damn it. This meant that he'd just have to hurry the hell up and get this kid to someone who did know what they were doing. Katsuki slapped his hand on the highest part of the wall he could reach, where the water had not affected the stone and the sun had thoroughly warmed it, even if now it no longer shined on this side of the wall. His skin burned on contact, and he felt the moisture from the river drying and replacing itself with his explosive sweat. Better than nothing, Katsuki thought with a grunt, putting his arm out to the side at an angle to at least get him far enough from the water's surface. Once his explosions had lifted him high enough, he placed his hand directly adjacent with the rippling surface, gritted his teeth, and let the air fill with the scent of smoke and fire as he let off the biggest blast he could muster. They shot through the air, barely managing to flip over the edge of the wall, before tumbling to the ground and rolling like clothes in the spin cycle. The moment he came to a halt, his mind hit a blank spot. Nothing of the past few minutes could be processed in this moment. His breaths came raggedly, and the only thing that remained even remotely focused in his line of sight was the blacktop of the road he lay on. It was warm and yet utterly cold, with half of him damp and exposed to the consistently cooling air. It wasn't until the feeling of wet fur tickled his chin that he snapped out it. Tiny claws dug into his skin, and a little body squirmed its way over his shoulder with many high-pitched cries. The puppy escaped its entrapment between Katsuki and the kid's body and leapt onto the pavement with shaky legs. Looking over his shoulder, Katsuki watched as the puppy scrambled away, only turning back once to bark loudly at him. Am I supposed to consider that a fucking thank you? He wondered groggily, watching until the animal disappeared from sight. He turned away and looked down at the crown of the child, still in his arms and not breathing. Katsuki jolted upright, lowering the child to the ground, and checked their vitals, which he did know how to do. There was a pulse, though hard to find, and if he strained his eyes to look beyond the soggy mess that was Kid's sweater, he could faintly catch the rise and fall of their chest. His eyes flickered over Red Shoe's face, frowning at the tinges of blue that were creeping into the pale features. Since it was still early spring, that river wasn't very warm, and the smaller the body, the easier it froze. And with the sun going down, it was only going to get colder. Picking the child up again, Katsuki staggered over to his abandoned coat, glad that he had taken that part of his uniform off before jumping into the river to perform his rescue. He draped it over the kid as best as he could before retrieving his backpack, slinging it over his shoulder. Between the dry warmth of the jacket and his own natural body heat, Bakugo was confident the kid wouldn't freeze too much. Before he began to head off in the direction he had come from, towards UA where he'd find Recovery Girl, he spotted a smaller red bag sitting in the spot that all three kids had been in when they were attempting their rescue. Since the kid was definitely a grade schooler, then Katsuki could safely assume that that bag would have Red Shoe's personal information in it. With that, he could at least have someone phone this dumb kid's parents and let them know that they weren't dead or kidnapped. Trudging over to it, the blonde stooped and snatched the backpack off the ground, simultaneously flipping the flap of the bag over. Sure enough, there was the info card neatly tucked into a see-through pocket. Crimson eyes glided over words and numbers. His only interest as of this moment was in finding out Red Shoe's real name in the events that he could properly chew this kid out once they woke up again. Katsuki's gaze flickered over the kid again, and he scoffed, exhaustion from the day's troubles washing over and threw him 10 times over. It was a feeling that differed from all the other thrilling events he had ever endured. Normally, his stamina would last a lot longer than this. Perhaps saving someone actually took a different kind of energy compared to fighting a horde of villains, or in his case, Izuku and Round Face, and it took more of it too. Shaking his head, Katsuki slung the other bag over his shoulder as well and began to jog as fast as he could towards the city, muttering one thing to the passed-out child. Ayako Momogami, you're the second dumbest and luckiest kid I've ever met. Now, let's get down to business. Eraserhead, Shota Aizawa, declared to 1A. The next morning had been filled with problems of the ever-annoying press, with Izuku Midoriya himself nearly being harassed by them before Aizawa saved him. Now, they were in class as he had just finished giving out reviews to their class with all might. To defeat the Huns, Denki Kaminari muttered, sparking suppressed giggles from the nearby classmates who understood the reference and roaring laughter from almost all the predecessors. Milan's such a classic, Daisy roared. Be a man, you must be swift as a coursing river. Daigoro started. Be a man, with all the force of a great typhoon. Nana continued. Be a man, all the strength of a raging fire. The third champion joined in. Mysterious as the dark side of the moon. Izuku absent-mindedly muttered as Aizawa mentioned an important task for them, oblivious to Ochako Uraraka's puffed and Denki's thumbs up. Decide on a class representative. There was a beat in which most of the students relaxed from the appearance of a normal school-related stuff. Then a roar as everyone jumped for it. In the end, it was changed to a vote by Tenya Ida's insistence, which somehow ended up in Izuku's favor. How? Izuku yelled in shock as he saw 4 votes for him, with Momo Yaoyorozu next to him with 2 votes. And he didn't even vote for himself. How indeed? Katsuki jumped from his seat, breaking out of the silent funk he'd been all day from the previous day's encounter. How did that introverted nerd get the role of a leader? Who voted for him? I did. Denki had no problem raising an arm, while Ochako innocently whistled to the side. What? Katsuki roared. Did your quirk fry that brain of yours, Pikachu? Hey, I take it as a point of pride to be referred to as that, Bakugo. What were you trying to accomplish? Rikido Sato asked a trembling Tenya, who had ended up with 0 votes. Ochako smiled brightly as she placed her chopsticks in her mouth, a big bowl overflowing with white rice in her left hand, as she praised the taste of the simple staple prepared by the cooking hero, Lunch Rush. Izuku looked apprehensively at his bowl of katsudon, pork cutlet, and rice bowl. Guys, I'm kinda worried about the class rep thing, he admitted to his 3 friends. I don't think I'm qualified. I can't believe I'm saying this, but Katsuki was right about the introverted nerd thing, Harumi said. He can grow, Daisy argued. Sure you are, Ochako encouraged. You'll be great, Denki agreed. It'll be fine. Your courage and judgment at critical moments make you worth following. That is why I voted for you, Tenya explained. You were one of the 4? Izuku exclaimed. Midoriya, we all voted for you, Denki revealed, with Ochako nodding along. Izuku could barely hold the tears back at his friend's gestures. Didn't you want to be class rep really badly? Ochako said to Tenya. I mean, you do look the part, with the glasses and everything. Wanting to do it and being suitable to do it are different issues. I merely did what I judged to be correct, Tenya explained. Merely? Izuku, Ochako, and Denki asked at the same time. You don't usually use that word, Izuku noted. Oh, that's... Tenya started. I've been thinking, are you a rich boy, Idakin? Ochako beamed. Urakakikin, Denki chided. You can't just ask people if they're rich. Well, it was only a matter of time before I was recognized, Kaminarikin. Tenya relented. Are the 3 of you familiar with the turbo hero, Ingenium? Izuku's expression brightened into a beaming, excited smile. I know all about him. He's a super popular pro with 65 sidekicks working alongside him at his Tokyo agency. Izuku leaned back as his eyes shrunk in realization. Don't tell me. Tenya placed his hands on his hips and held his head up high. He's my elder brother. Your family's famous. Ochako gushed with excitement. Your big bro's a pro hero, Denki exclaimed. I can't believe it. Izuku practically screamed. Hey fanboy, You losing your touch or something? The sixth chuckled. I'm kind of surprised. I would have thought you'd have figured out Ida was Ingenium's little bro right away once you saw his hero costume. Hey, that's right, Takashi added as Izuku's spectral face went white. Tenya's quirk has engines coming from his legs, while Ingenium had engines in his arms. And their costumes were so similar, Harumi added with a nod of her head. It's surprising something like that slipped past you, little knife. Oh my gosh, you're right. How did I not see that? Izuku hunched over in shock. All of the clues were right in front of me from the very first combat training when Idaken came out in his costume. Ingenium is an unmatched commander who honors the hero code. As the second Ida's son, I strive to be just like him. However, I think it might be a bit soon for me to be in a real leadership role. You, for example. Tenya gestured to Izuku. You figured out what the judges were looking for in the practical exam. A class rep needs that sort of insight. I keep telling you. Izuku said in embarrassment. I didn't see through anything. I just acted on my own. This might be the first time I've seen you smile, Idaken. You should do it more, Uraraka told him. What are you talking about? I smile all the time. Tenya replied in confusion. No, you don't, Ida? Denki yelled. An alarm rang through the school, startling the students. An alarm? Izuku gaped. There is a level 3 security breach. What? Tenya gasped. All students please evacuate outdoors promptly. I repeat. What's level 3 security? Tenya asked a third-year student beside him while others ran for the halls. It means someone is trespassing on school grounds. I've never seen anything like this in the 3 years I've been here. You should hurry too, the student replied before running after the others. Students flooded the halls before they started pushing against each other, resulting in a frenzied stampede. Get to the windows, Takashi ordered. Izuku struggled his way to the windows, only to see that the media from this morning had been the trespassers. Fucking paparazzi, Daisy cursed. Give us All Might. He's here, isn't he? Yu Shimamura, the reporter who hassled Izuku earlier, demanded of Aizawa and present Mike, Hisashi Yamada, who tried to stop them from going into the school. We told you he's not here. Present Mike sighed. If you give us one brief comment, we'll leave. A photographer promised. If you guys get one comment, you'll want another. That's just how you are. Aizawa denied. They're illegal trespassers, you know. Present Mike whispered to Aizawa. You could call them villains. Let's beat him up and out. Don't do it, Mike, Aizawa warned. These vultures will write up a bunch of lies about you. Let's wait for the cops. Present Mike sked in annoyance at not being able to throw trespassers out of the school just because they had a platform. Speaking of villains, a buxom girl with bluish-gray hair stood across the street from the school with headphones on, waiting for something as she gazed at the panic with unveiled amusement. Just as the police were about to arrive, a royal blue gelatinous liquid poured out through the seams of the disactivated UA barrier, sneakily crossing the road to meet the girl. The girl started walking away, while holding out her hand which allowed the liquid to climb up her arm and into her clothes, then popping a tendril out her collar. Hey there, Anarchy, the girl greeted, rubbing a finger across it as it vibrated in pleasure. You did a good job, and I got a top-class seat, those vultures embarrassing themselves. When the police arrived, the girl had already entered an alleyway. In front of her, an inky mist swirled into existence, revealing a tall, purple misty figure in bartender clothes. Hey, Kurojiri, the girl greeted peppily. Did you get it? Yes. Kurojiri brought out the curriculum contained All Might's scheduled classes. Everything went according to plan, Myheroacademia Shigaraki. We've got the raw goods. Myheroacademia Shigaraki replied. Let's go refine this into something worthwhile. A blast of dark purple mist and the 2.5 villains were gone. Izuku gritted his teeth as he was squeezed even tighter against the window. Where are the teachers? Are they busy trying to deal with everything? Izuku questioned. We need to get away before you get trampled, Daisy said. Use Black Whip to pull yourself to the ceiling, Daigoro yelled.